Good day to you and welcome. It is opening day 2025 in Milwaukee and Milwaukee Brewers Opening. The Kansas City Royals got a very good day after a awful weekend. The history and the Brewers are party for the money. I think that here just a few old bucks. He was just
It wasn't good, to say the very least. It wasn't good. What do you make of the torpedo bet? Because that's what everybody's talking about right now.
Yeah, that's I think more teams are going to start going to this. Is they're apparently legal, and these bats are designed to, specifically designed for each player to where they barrel up the baseball. Their sweet spot is on the bat, and that's what these bats are designed to do. But it's supposed to pick up the offense. The Brewers were asked about it over the weekend. Reese Hoskins has ordered some of those bats. So whoever invented them, I wish I had stock in that company right now.
And rightfully so. I mean, look, everybody should be swinging it right now.
Yeah.
I was saying that earlier today. I did a hit with Ebo, and I did a hit up in one of our stations up north. And they're like, well, what do you think of it? I'm like, well, if I'm the Brewers, I order a bunch.
Yeah.
I have every guy in my clubhouse sitting down and going, hey, I should probably be getting one or two of these things. You know what I mean?
Well, how are the Yankees ahead of the curve over everybody else?
And how did they look? Like Judge didn't use one. Aaron Judge is hitting the hell out of the ball.
He
always
used a toothpick, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, but they brought in how did nobody know that they were doing this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what and then to go to Major League Baseball and get it approved. And look, I don't know whether it's Brewers pitching, and we'll see what the Yankees do now that the Brewers are out of town. I mean, if somebody else comes in and they're not hitting home runs at a prolific rate, then we know it was Brewers pitching.
Well, the Brewers pitching, even dating back to last year, has a penchant for giving up the home run ball. I mean, you look it up and down, and I was doing this on my podcast the other day going into the season. I was like, man, they sure gave up a lot of – they were 7th in the league at giving up home runs last year.
Right.
So a combination of that, guys who give up the home run balls, even Freddie gave up 2 home runs on Thursday. Combination of that, Bill, and those bats, that makes for a wicked day.
It was not a great weekend when it comes to – I'll say this, though. The Brewers still hit the ball. They played competitive baseball at times. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they weren't scoring runs because I said, look, if you can hold teams to under 4 runs a game-ish, you're going to win a lot of games. Yeah. And had they been able to do that, they would have won 2 out of 3.
Well, like Saturday, they were down 4-0. Those 4 home run balls, they battled back. But, Cortez is always he's walking guys, too. He walked 5 guys. So he was all over the place. They battled back to get within 4-3, and then Judge at the grand slam.
Right.
There goes the ball game.
That was all she wrote after that. Brewers lose 3 straight. Back at it again today, taking on Kansas City. Hopefully it's going to be a better little home cooking, better crowd, a different atmosphere. Obviously, solemn. I saw earlier today they've got the front row tarp up in the upper portion of the American Family Field. They got Uecker's signature in the outfield. It'll be a somewhat solemn day. I'll say this. Pretty cool thing that not only Joe Buck did in recognition of Bob Uecker, but what the Yankees did yesterday in recognition of Bob Uecker.
Yeah, a moment of silence.
Yeah.
And Lane Grindle in the broadcast, he did a tribute by Get Up, Get Out of Here, Gone on the first home run of the year.
Did you have a problem with that?
No, not at all. No.
I didn't either.
No, but, they even cleared it with the family. they cleared it with the family. Everybody's
right.
Everybody's so afraid to offend Bob Uecker.
Right.
And they cleared it with the family, and it was all good. I don't, he's going to get a lot of tributes. There's a tribute up above the press box as you are in the concourse level. There's a big banner that's signed that says "We miss you, Bob."
Yeah.
So there's Bob Uecker, before he passed away, had his handprints all over the stadium with 2 statues, and he deserves it. He's been the face of the franchise. He's, as I've always said, he's the soundtrack of our summer.
Right. Exactly. Grant Bills, how you doing today? You're just kind of hanging out over there.
I'm hanging out. I'm shaking hands, and I love that Freems is here because normally we get him on once a week, but Freems, a lot of our listeners might not know this. He's a handsome devil, and look at this head of hair. How great is it to have this on the stream, and this lovely sport coat you have on as well?
All 3 of us, man, got a full head of hair.
We are live at Stenny's, and when you're at Stenny's, it's kind of like when you're in Rome. You got to do the Bloody Marys, which I'm already doing. So for those that are watching on a live stream, Bloody Marys are already going. We got the wings coming. Mm-hmm. You didn't do any alcohol yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're not driving. You're taking a shuttle over. You're jumping on the Steny shuttle.
Correct.
Chuck's leaving in about an hour. He's driving over.
Well, for business reasons here, I don't want to go to the game. I want to be here and work, but I feel like if we're going to talk about Stenny's and endorse the great job that they do getting people, I should experience it so I can speak to it first.
Yeah, we got a bit of a sponsor group coming that are going to be hanging out behind us coming up here in a little bit. So we'll have some people here joining us, and then the wings will be flowing, and
should be fun. There's a guy who plays for Alabama, the kid who transferred from North Dakota State. I can't think of his name.
It's Grant something.
He reminds me every time I saw him this weekend. That's Bills.
Well, he's a good-looking guy, Grant Nelson.
Nelson from North Dakota.
Here, what do you think of this?
Yeah, look at him. He looks.
Yeah. That's pretty much the way you look when you wake up.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And when I get to the studio,
this guy's great. I mean, Grant is too, but
appreciated.
This Grant, man, this guy Nelson was all over the place. He's a transfer in from North Dakota State. He was amazing for Alabama.
He's fun to watch.
Which, by the way, so all the number ones are in the tournament. We haven't touched on the tournament yet. I have missed one. I need one win next weekend, and I win now both pools.
Who's that? You just need one of the 4
to
win?
I need one of any of the 4 to win.
So
I'm basically
You took all 4 1 seeds?
I don't have all 4 1 seeds, but I've only missed 7 games in the entire tournament.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
You can. I mean, I posted it before.
Okay.
I said, here's my picks. And I've only missed like 7 games the entire tournament.
Okay.
So my buddy Scotty. So Scotty and I went in together on one tournament.
Okay.
And it was quite a bit of cabbage to do it. And he's like, "Oh, you gonna pick it?" Okay, I'll pick it. And his buddy. I don't let you go through the explanation here. Him and his buddies, like 2 years ago, they went in on they got something with baseball where like you pick numbers, and your team gets runs plus hits minus errors, and that's your number. Okay. And you got to hit the number. So it's for every game. And it was a $5,000 buy-in. So every guy, they got 5 or 6 guys together, and they all chipped in and went in. They won it. And it turned out to be like a lot of money.
Oh.
And they all put it in one pool. They all put it in one bank account.
Okay.
And that's their gambling account.
Sure.
That's all they use. They don't use any of their own money anymore. So all the guys do it. So he called me and he said, "Hey, we've got this pool for the tournament. I was going to get in with one of our other friends." He said, "Do you want to get in with me?" I said, "You know what? I'll do it with you. What the hell, So he did it with his buddy, Mike Rohde, and then did another one with me.
All right.
And each one was $500 per person.
Okay.
So we got in on it.
Okay.
I don't know if I should be giving out this amount of money on the air, but nevertheless, so he's like, "You pick that. I'll pick the other one with Rohde." I said, "Okay, cool." We've only missed 7 games on this side of it.
Well, the fact that you're going to get a big
I may be walking down the street after next weekend with no pants. Just so you know, I could be arrested, no pants.
Well, you've ruined any chance of getting a raise because they're going to come to you and say,
right.
"Bill, you made this 30,000, whatever."
Well, it'll be a nice little chunk of change.
There we go.
It'll maybe pay off a new car or something.
Well, the thing about these pools, now you had such a great year this year. Now, last year I did really well.
Yeah, last year I was terrible.
But see, now this year you did great. It's impossible to have 2 great years in a row.
Right.
Like, for me, it's like once every 15 years.
Right.
Have a good
the
pool.
only time I've ever won in back-to-back years, I've gotten to the end of fantasy football a couple times.
Okay.
Guillotine leagues, I have not been good. But fantasy football, playing it on a week-in and week-out basis, I play in a big league with Scotty as well.
Sure.
And we've done pretty well in that thing. But usually like this, like last year I was terrible.
Okay.
This year was easy because of all the transfers. Because the powerhouses got more powerful. and the mid-majors were losing their star players because of money. So, and you're looking at this going, yeah, I don't think this is going to happen, So you started looking at Auburn, you looked at Alabama, you looked at Michigan State, you started looking at these teams starting to peak at the end with these veteran players that have seniors that are like 2-year seniors.
Sure.
You're like, you go with them. And that's what we did.
There was hardly any upsets. There were no Cinderella stories, basically. It was chalk all the way. I think Colorado State might have gotten to the Sweet 16. They lost on a buzzer beater last weekend. But yeah, it was all favorite. All
Maryland, same
seeds.
thing.
Same with Maryland, yeah.
Yep.
Well, you know what's going to happen is next year everyone's going to go in, the mid-major is dead, the transfer portal killed it, and everyone's going to pick no upsets next year, and then because March Madness, we're going to get the most upset tournament of all time.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen this a couple of times where pretty much chalk has gone through, and it wasn't that long ago. People say this is unheard of. Well, then they put up the statistic that in the 2000s plus, we've had chalk go all the way through with, so it's like, Well,
the 12 over the 5, Bill, used to be the big upset.
Right.
Oh, the 12 is going to beat the 5. And now when a 12 beats a 5, which did happen, you don't even think about it now. It's not a big deal.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not a big deal. There's Laura Jean. Look how good she looks. She's lost a ton of weight. Look at that. She looks fantastic. Let's do this. We are broadcasting live. We are at Stenny's, second and National at Walker's Point. As you can see, the crowd filtering in, and they just opened the doors like literally 12 minutes ago. So, and they've already got about, I don't know, between the front and the back, they've already got about 100 people in this place. Everybody's going to be catching the shuttles, which are going to start running a little bit after 11 o'clock. Start heading over. They have 3 of them down here, 2 of them out at Lake Country. They're going to be running people and Brewers fans right to the front door of American Family Field. So if you're heading to either location, no worries there. Chuck Freimund on site along with Grant Bills. I'm Bill Michaels. Going back to the Brewers and the weekend, few errors, which we expected, but boy, Jackson Churio starting off 0 for 5 and just an awful couple of at-bats. And then you've got guys like, Christian Yelich, who didn't do a whole lot. Reese Hoskins didn't do a whole lot. I mean, guys will eventually start hitting, but I'll always talk about it when people say, here we go, because look at all – and I said it. Look at all the runs they scored in spring training. And then you say, well, when it gets to the regular season, you got to wait and see because everything just stops on opening day. And it stopped on opening day, and suddenly the bats were not the way I thought they would be.
No, they led the majors in home runs at spring training, and Churio is amazing. And not that he's not, but, yeah, he bounced back. He had 3 hits over the final 2 games of that series against New York. But they're not going to go 0-162.
No.
Just like that one year when they got off to a quick start. And I kept telling you they were going to go 162-0, and you said you were going to buy me a Ferrari if they went 162.
I would have too. I would have sold my house, lived in a box to give you a Ferrari just to keep my word, just so I didn't look like a.
You're not referencing 87 in Team Streak, are you?
No, this was 2014.
Oh, okay.
24. They got off to a 9-2 start, Grant, and they just kept winning games. And this is when Wisconsin was making the run in the NCAA tournament. But they kept on winning games, and I said 160-2. And Bill's, I guarantee it's not going to.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I can dream with you.
Yep.
I don't mind putting my head on the pillow with stars in my eyes.
But they're not going to go the other way either.
No. And they may break it today. I mean, Kansas City's not picked to really do much, and let's be honest. I mean, Kansas City hasn't necessarily been beating the world anyway, and if the Brewers are back home, there's going to be an energy level and excitement in the ballpark. Yeah. Albeit, I will say this. The people that have walked into there are like, hey, this is great opening day. And then they all go, well, I hope they can win.
Yeah, I know.
You just talk about just a total deflating fart, that happened over the weekend.
Well, It's funny because like on Twitter, guys, it's just.
I've never overreacted on Twitter. Don't look at me when you make this comment.
No, only about the matches.
Okay.
But no, the Twitter people are like, see, Chuck, I told you the Brewers are going to be bad. Oh, they're going to be terrible.
Right.
This. Yeah, you got to let some of it play out a little bit.
What'd you pick them at?
I still had them winning the division.
Yeah,
right? And you know what? Right now the Cardinals are 3-0. They're in first place, and I had them finishing toward the bottom of the league.
Well,
they swept the Twins this week.
Everybody thought the Cubs were going to be the team to beat. The Cubs only have 2 wins. They're 2-4 in the season. Cincinnati only got 1 win over the weekend to salvage that. Pittsburgh's got 1 win. The only team that started out on fire was the Cardinals.
Yeah, and the Cubs yesterday, they had a 6-2 lead going into the bottom of the 8th inning, and the bullpen gave up 8 runs.
Yeah.
It just fell completely apart. So that kind of made my day a little bit.
Did
after
you
the Brewers ruined it?
Did you watch? God, I can't remember who hit the homer, and Counsell had his hand on the railing. at the top of the dugout.
Tucker. Was it Tucker?
Yeah. And then you just saw it. He just dropped his head like, not again.
Oh, for Arizona. Oh.
Not again. Not again.
Yeah,
like, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, they tattooed that Cubs bullpen. And Cubs Twitter was going crazy Saturday night when they almost blew it Saturday night and ended up winning. But on Sunday, they were going crazy. They're 2-4, so, again, long season.
Let's do this. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got a lot to get to. We are broadcasting live. We're at Stenny's. And for those that are watching on the live stream, the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread has shown up.
Oh, the food is rolling in.
The food is now rolling in, and we've got this stuff sitting here. We got our wings sitting here. Who got the wrap?
That's me.
You got the wrap?
I got the wrap.
I got the
watching
wings.
what you eat. That a boy.
What'd you get, Grant?
I got a glass of water. I'm pacing myself. I gotta go.
It's a long day for Grant.
I gotta go attend this game, and then I gotta bring the shuttle back here. So I'm gonna be back at the bar.
Are you driving the show?
I recorded my show ahead of time.
No, I mean, are you
yesterday.
driving the shuttle?
Am I driving the
He's
shuttle?
not driving it. He's going to be riding on it.
I'm riding the
I
shuttle.
thought you said you're driving the shuttle.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great though.
I picked up some part-time work just driving shuttle.
Yeah,
That's the radio business.
He's not only going to Uber, he's going to DoorDash wings to the park.
Might as well.
You know who called me wanting wings is Jeff Brantley, the broadcaster for the Reds.
Okay, well, he's in next weekend.
Yeah, they're in this weekend. So yeah, he called and said,
He wanted to know where
Cowboy.
to go.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because years ago, we brought him here to eat, and he called me and said, "Hey, is that wing place still around?" Because he's like a wing connoisseur. He said, "Stenny's." I said, "They're never going away. They're 40th anniversary parties this year." He's like, "Yeah, we could probably use some of those wings down there this weekend." You know, I said, "Okay, I'll see if I can't get you some wings to come over." So
You know, it's funny, Bill. I saw your video this morning. For a second, I thought, now we're going to Steady's downtown. Right?
Yeah.
We're not going to the
Right.
Lake Country.
No. This is tradition.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I love the new Lake Country, this is like home.
I didn't want to come here and all said, Bill, you're
No.
on
That's where we're going after the game.
There we go.
That would be the
Yeah,
night tonight.
And you know what's funny is that out in Lake Country is just as crowded, if not more, than down here. And that place there is about 75 seats bigger than this place.
Okay, have not been yet.
Yeah.
Have not been to the one in Lake
it's
Country.
stunningly beautiful the way they rebuilt that place. All right, we've gone on far too long just because we're getting ready to go face first into wings and Bloody Marys and everything else. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show live down here at Stenny's. It's Brewers opening day. We're praying to God they get themselves a win. We got more coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Ready?
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Being a Pella consultant means helping people build their dreams.
For Jenna, helping others find joy is so rewarding. It's why we love to do what we do.
I enjoy simplifying the process for the customer, taking the time to listen and finding the right solution.
Randy understands that everyone's situation is different, so we don't just slap together cookie cutter solutions.
Customers really appreciate just how prepared we are. All the samples, the videos, pictures.
Jake arrives at your free in-home consultation with pre-prepared materials to fully envision your dream Pella build.
We're with you from start to finish. You literally have a friend from beginning to end and beyond with your project.
Whether you're working with Ryan or another Pella consultant, we don't go away after the sale. We're ready with anything you may need before, during, and after installation. And right now, at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get 0% interest up to 72 months. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply in 3/31/2025. There's a winning magic powering up at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. This April, prepare for an exciting quest to $300,000 in the Enchanted Spin Slot Tournament. Just conjure your rewards card and play slots to earn drawing entries. Each Thursday, 60 winners will compete for thousands in cash and prizes. Let your journey begin with Enchanted Spins, only at Potawatomi. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
No. Where is it?
Welcome back. Hey, a reminder, coming up on May 1st, we do a lot of work with our friends over there at the Third Ward Beer Garden in Catalano Square, and that is going to be in downtown of the Third Ward in Milwaukee. They are opening May 1st. They're doing a ceremonial keg tapping. They're going to have some live music. Those are our friends who also work with us regarding the Bud Pavilion and Wednesday Night Live. But opening day is May 1st for the Third Ward Beer Garden in Catalano Square, and that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a great event and venue all season long coming up for the summer months. Chuck Freimund alongside. I'm Bill Michaels. Grant Bills is here as well, and we have got opening day baseball to discuss. Obviously, the Brewers not a great weekend. There you go. That's the one.
Oh, the RV.
Yeah.
Going all around the state, probably, right?
We'll be maybe we do a golf tour.
Oh,
maybe we do some golfing.
That's that would be.
When's the last time you and I played golf, by the way?
You know, probably the outing that was out at out in Pewaukee. Where were we?
Was that Lombardo's?
The Lombardo. That's what it was.
Yeah, the Greater Lombardo Open at Western Lakes,
right before COVID.
That's right.
Because we'd go golfing. You know, UI and former producer of yours would go 2 or 3 times a year. We'd go golfing. Yeah,
we haven't done that in a while. We got to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always up for it.
We actually have rounds now at the country club, and I hate to say it like that because I sound snotty.
Yeah,
but I really do. I feel funny.
The club. I love the reference to the club.
But we joined a club.
Yeah.
And
in Mequon,
the Mequon River Club in Mequon.
Sure.
So now we've got
it's a great
and
course.
we played there because that's where our golf outing used to be.
Yeah, the former place we used to work at. Yeah,
the former venture.
Yeah,
there's Billy, our shuttle bus guy. There you go. There's Billy's in the house.
There we go.
Opening day.
Opening day.
Always love having Billy.
You couldn't tell that the Brewers are 0-3 here, could you?
No, they were starting to chant "Let's go Brewers" a little while ago, but about as fast as that chant started was about as fast as that Cortez home run went out of Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the demise of it. So
lasted about as long as Milwaukee's starting pitchers over the last couple of days.
Right. So I mean, look, so bad start to the weekend, but how concerned are you about the pitching staff?
Oh, I think there's. I said going into the season that the pitching staff, I looked at it and I said, well, they're going to give up a lot of home run balls, which they did this weekend. But I think it's not going to be as bad as people would think it's going to be. What the problem is, there's no real bona fide stopper in that starting rotation. Right. When you get to a 3-game skid or 4-game skid, who's going to come in and throw 6 shutout innings and carry you to a victory.
Right.
They don't have that type of guy right now. Although all of those guys are capable of doing it on occasion, Savali, I think, is better than what he showed over the weekend. Certainly, I thought Cortez is, and I'm not giving up on him after one game. Freddie's able to do it. But, that team last year, Bill, they never lost more than 4 games in a row.
Right.
That was the key last year because they're very consistent. They'd never lost more than 4 in a row. If they lose today, they'll tie their longest losing streak of last year already by nightfall. But the problem is, Bill, they're throwing Elvin Rodriguez today.
I know.
Who, now you're talking opening day, your biggest day of the year. And you have Elvin Rodriguez. No disrespect for him. Who? Yeah, exactly. There's going to be people sitting in the stands today and saying, who is this guy? Was he on the team last year? No, he's pitching in Japan the last couple of years. And, Japan cut him loose. He was with Tampa. He's a journeyman. They have no one else to turn to. They have nobody else to turn to.
Cut him loose.
Yes.
They did.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And if you're going to Thursday's game, Cortez is on the docket. I heard they may switch that to an afternoon game because Cortez, that could make for a 14-hour day.
So there's not a lot of hope when it comes to the pitching staff, I guess, is what you're trying to tell us, and which I would agree. Now, and I saw this get fired up over the weekend, and it's only going to get louder with each loss that begins to mount. But there's the talk of you got to have ownership spend more money. You got to have ownership do more for this team. Matt Arnold's only done so much, but his wrists are tied because he's only allowed to spend a certain amount, and that we've watched the payroll go down over years rather than go up over the years. The funny thing is now there's a discussion, a murmur that if Rob Manfred should ever step aside, that all of a sudden they might look at Mark Attanasio, which
I saw that.
I kind of like, where'd that come from? Now, I know because of Milwaukee ties, Bud Selig obviously still reigns here. So he knows Mark extremely well, and the family knows Mark extremely well. He was Manfred was Bud's handpicked guy. Does it just have the trickle-down effect to where the next guy in line coming out of the Milwaukee area or out of that Bud Selig tree, so to speak, becomes Mark Attanasio?
Well, when Bud first
he's not selling a team anytime soon, I'll tell you that.
No, when Bud took over in the early 90s, I thought this, Bill. I thought, all right, we got our guy in there. He's going to defend the small market. He's going to have Milwaukee's back. And look how that worked. Things only got worse as far as small markets. They tried to, they had in 94.
The owners just didn't want to push it.
No,
they didn't want to lose money.
No. And Attanasio, that kind of surprised me a little bit. People ask, the Brewers need new ownership, and maybe the new owner, whoever they get in there, is going to look at the economic situation and say, no, we're not going to spend that money. If they are not. All small markets like Milwaukee aren't spending money.
Unless you're an absolute billionaire you can afford to lose $20 million.
Yeah.
You're not coming in here to lose $20 million.
No, but what guy who's going to throw his money around so he can lose money?
Right. Exactly.
They're all here to make a buck. That's why they became millionaires.
Right.
Billionaires.
Yeah, and I don't see any. I just don't know. After seeing that the Brewers reportedly through Forbes made $24-something million last year, $25 million, we'll say, you'd figure, do you reinvest that money, or instead they backed off of that payroll?
Yeah.
After making that amount of money last year, so instead of investing in it, they let guys go. And to me, that's where fans have a right to be frustrated, I think.
Yeah, fans get frustrated because they see the great support that this team has gotten over the years. I mean, you look at opening day, it's going to be a sellout. The Brewers franchise really has done nothing to earn the kind of support. Let's face it, the Brewers franchise has not earned the fans' support. Now, they've been winning the last couple of years in the regular season, but the last 5 seasons, Bill, they busted out in the first round of the playoffs. There's been 1 World Series appearance. There's been no championships. Yet the fans are just amazing. Look at this bar here.
Yep.
It's jam-packed, and
getting more and more crowded by the minute.
Yes, and there's buses all over town going to the game today, and it's going to be a full house. And, tomorrow they'll have a nice crowd, too. It won't be like today. But still, the bottom line is the fans in this state do such a great job supporting this team, and the team has really not given them anything back. Remember, Attanasio said this in the offseason, Bill. He said, "Is my job," and the family says I'm taking out a contest. Is it my job to win a World Series championship or provide a family of fun on a Sunday afternoon? I don't know. Winning does a lot of things.
That didn't sit well.
No.
That didn't sit well with many people.
No.
Let's do this. We are broadcasting live. We're here at Stenny, second and National Walker's Point. The buses begin to run here coming up probably about the next 20 minutes. They're going to start taking off from down here. They're going to run every 10, 15 minutes. There's 3 of them running from here, 2 of them running from Lake Country. Chuck Freimund alongside. Grant Bills is down here as well. It is Brewers opening day. Brewers taking on the Kansas City Royals. 1:10 first pitch over at American Family Field. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Hey, if you're coming down this direction for, say, I don't know, any of the festivals taking place this coming festival season, German Fest, July 25th, 26th, and 27th. You can catch the shuttles to German Fest from here at Stenny's. Go to GermanFest.com for the tickets and everything that German Fest has to offer. That's GermanFest.com. That is GermanFest.com. We got more live down here at Stenny, second and National in Walker's Point. Chuck, Grant, myself, we got more right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad to have you. I want to remind you throughout the state of Wisconsin, do what I did, and that is put my money where my mouth is with our friends at Dream Vacations. And if you want to head off to a resort like we're going to do, maybe you want to take a cruise, or maybe you just want to follow the Brewers or the Packers and take a sports travel trip, all you got to do anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, get a hold of our friends at Michael and Melissa over there at Dream Vacations, 414-208-4221, 414-208-4221. And like I said, they're the ones that took care of everything regarding our trip. I said, I want to be in the sand. I want a drink in one hand, a cigar in the other. Get me there on one flight, and I'll be good to go. And they hooked us up. So 414-208-4221, 414-208-4221. That is our friends over there at Dream Vacations. We're glad to have you along for the ride. We are live. We are here at Stenny's, second to National Walker's Point. Grant Bills is here today, and Chuck Freimund from the Locked On Brewers podcast is here today, and because you got a hell of a following over in the Locked On Brewers. A lot of Brewers. We're talking about Brewers fans before we went to break.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they get our podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, on all the audio downloads. Number one Brewer podcast on the internet. And, of course, our growing YouTube page. Just go to YouTube, go to Locked On Brewers, but don't go while the Bill Michaels show is on. Bill's already breaking the internet.
People can multitask. They can watch us on one channel and watch you on the other channel and get all their consumption of Brewers baseball and information. So we were talking about the Brewers ownership and Mark Attanasio, and you had an interesting comment where you said, have they done enough to earn Brewers fans fandemonium, so to speak? That's a great question because they've won. It's been exciting, but have they taken that extra step? Now they have, when I thought, when you look at like Jackie Bradley Jr. and they brought guys in, and then Colton Wong, and that was a year in which after COVID I thought that they would pull back spending, and they didn't. They went out and spent some money. Wong worked that first year, and Jackie Bradley Jr. didn't, unfortunately. So they've spent some money. They just have never really kind of said, okay, here's the holes. We're going to fill all the holes, rather than here's the holes. We'll get one or two guys that are on the back end of their career or maybe might be able to make some kind of an impact. And if not, they can be a DH. And then we're going to hope for something for the best for here. They've never really done that. We know what we need. We got to go get it.
Well, they never make a move where you say, wow, look what they did.
Right.
They never do something like the Bucks. And again, the NBA plays under a different salary structure. Now, at least they tried. They went out and got Damian Lillard.
Right.
I mean, who would have guessed that?
Right. Which, by the way, the Bucks have just quit. That was embarrassing last night.
They gave up yesterday.
That was terrible. And that to me was Doc Rivers' fireable offense yesterday.
Oh, it was a terrible.
That was a terrible game, and that team quit.
Yeah.
And that was pathetic.
Yeah, I was driving home from dropping my kid off. And a buddy of mine texted me, and he said the Bucks are just terrible. I'm like, I didn't even have any interest in turning that game on last night after getting that text, and I knew what direction it was probably headed. But, back to what you're saying about the Brewers, the Brewers, I don't think they've done enough to really, but the fans just keep coming back. Don't ever take the fans for granted. But the Brewers, I thought really like at third base this year. You look at third base, they didn't really fix that third base position. They got a platoon going on over there. But we're talking a team that's won the division title in each of the last 2 years. And to say you're just going to roll bodies over at third base and think that you're going to compete again, because other teams are going to get better.
Yeah.
They see that, and they're going to get better. The Cubs aren't going to be bad for long. Now, they're off to a 2-4 start, but they're going to eventually turn things around. And there's a window of opportunity right now, and the Brewers need to not only win a division, but they got to get by that first round of the playoffs.
The Brewers to remain, I don't want to say relevant because they're going to be relevant, but for the Brewers to continue to give fans hope, I said by the time they start getting some of these starting pitchers back, they got to hang 500. They can't all of a sudden begin to slide to where you're barely hanging on to the division at the end of April, beginning of May. You know what I mean? Because you figure by the middle of May to June, you're going to start getting some of the guys back.
Well, the Brewers, after 2011, when they went to Game 6 of the NLCS against the Cardinals, then 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, they were back to being the Brewers as we knew. Then they turned it around in 17, and now they're on a pretty good run here. But they do have some injuries, and I hate to use that as an excuse, but we'll see how Savale checks out because he left the game supposedly because of a hamstring injury yesterday.
Murph just said, by the way, he's going on the IL.
He is going. So that's 6 potential starters, Grant, that are on this IL. If Hall and Ashby, if you want to include guys like that, and going on to Woodruff, there's 6 guys. Myers, 6 guys who could be on this in the starting rotation. But they're throwing out Elvin Rodriguez today, and they don't even know who's going to start tomorrow. They probably know. I don't think they've released it yet unless they have, Grant. And then now who's going to take Savali's spot? Are they going to call up Mizorowski? Is it his time right now? We'll see.
Yeah, that was the other guy that they were kind of hoping was going to be able to develop a little bit more and then maybe bring him up in June.
Well, he had a great weekend. He pitched for Nashville over the weekend. 5 innings, gave up 1 hit, and I think he walked 3, struck out 7. He had a pretty good weekend in his first start. So, but the thing with him is, can he throw the ball over a plate and not walk guys?
Right.
So Myers is going to throw a sim game on Thursday. Murphy's talking right now.
Okay.
So Myers hopefully on the mend. And Woodruff, we got more good news. And I feel like I got to knock on wood every time I pass this along, but he's going to throw a 3-inning sim tomorrow and then another Monday, and then could begin a rehab assignment at extended spring training if those go well. That's good news.
That's really good news because if you go extended spring training, then they're thinking, I'd say, end of April, beginning of May?
May,
he started the season on the 15 day? They didn't put him on the 16th.
Right.
Yeah.
Which could end up meaning nothing, but there's a reason for optimism.
You just kind of go historically in your head when if they get that other sim game, and then they go on what they call that rehab assignment, that's usually at least a couple of starts before you come up. So that would be 2 additional weeks. So you're thinking end of April, beginning of May.
Well, like Grant was saying, that was a good sign last week when they did not put him on the 60-day.
Right.
Because when you go on the 60-day, I mean, that's usually 60 days plus another 60 days. So, and that's where DL Hall is these days. Well, that's great. Woodruff is the only guy in that staff who's got legitimate number 1 ace stuff before the injury. Now, after the injury, we'll see how that is. But he's the one guy who you could put out there, at least before the injury, that you knew that was going to be great for you.
Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We are broadcasting live. We're at Stenny, 2nd and National down here in Walker's Point, and the shuttle buses are going to start getting out of here. As you can see, the place is jamming. A lot of Brewers fans on site today. It's like a holiday in the state of Wisconsin for a Brewers home opener. So a lot of people excited. A lot of people talking about Uecker and the tributes that are going to be coming up today. His name across the outfield. I saw that earlier today. The Brewers did a really nice like a drone fly over the stadium where it came into the ballpark.
Was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then you could see Uecker's name as it came down towards the field, which was really kind of cool. So all of that's going to be happening, and they've got the Bloody Marys are flowing, the beer is flowing, the wings are going, the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread is on site. Come on down to Steny, 2nd and National, Walker's Point, of the one in Lake Country. Catch the shuttles to the game. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. There's other places to go watch the game. If you're not going to the game today, DJ's Goalpost on Appleton Avenue in Menominee Falls. Phenomenal place. It is like going to a museum when you talk about sports memorabilia, whether it's bobbleheads or baseballs, footballs, helmets, jerseys. Everything is there on site, not to mention great staff and great food as well. Go out and catch today's opener right there. DJ's Goalpost. Right there on Appleton Avenue in Menominee Falls. Stay tuned. We have got more live down here at Stenny's. Brewers Opening Day. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
It is Brewers Opening Day. We are live with Stenny, second and national at Walker's Point. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857 in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And I'm looking forward to the summer flavors, the Lakeside Pale Ale. They've got the Drop Dead Blonde as well. There's always things like the Staunch, the Forever Amber Lager, so much, and all the non-alcoholic stuff, which I absolutely love, the Great Concord or the Orange Cream Soda. A lot of good stuff from our friends over there at Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857 in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Hanging out with us, our good buddy Chuck Freimund is here. We have also got Graham Bills on site running around here somewhere as well. You're heading over shortly, right? You're heading over about a half an hour or 10 minutes or whatever?
Whenever you need me, Till. I'm just...
You can hang all day for all I care.
I've actually got to work my way over there.
The best is when we say Chuck's going to join us, and the people that have been listening to you and I for years are like, this is great. It's like destinational listening.
It's funny that I got that last week. When I'm on your show, I'll get a couple of texts. Oh, man, you and Bill, man, you guys do a great show together.
Right.
I said, because I was telling somebody today that, Bill, I was telling somebody today, you and I, Bill, could sit down and do a show. I don't even know what you're going to ask me or talk about or whatever. Like Shannon asked me, what do you guys going to talk about? I said, Bill and I could just sit down and do a 4-hour show.
Yeah.
Don't have to need any script or anything. Just do it. That's how easy it is, because you and I have been doing this together for so many years.
Well, it's plus we've got, between you and me, how many games have we covered together?
Thousands.
Holy mackerel!
And that's just including.
And you've been here. You grew up in this state.
Well, my first opening day was 1975. My first opening day was 1975, and my dad picked me up from school, Greendale, College Park. He picked me up from school. And earlier in the day, I had to present a note that I was going to the dentist. And this is 1975. But my dad was so worried that I was going to get caught. He was going to get arrested for truancy, because you can't have kids out. Back in the 70s, that must have been a thing. So when he picked me up from school, all the way down from Greendale, all the way down 60th Street, I had to keep my head low in the car so no cops would. My dad was paranoid that a cop would see us.
Right.
So we went to the ballpark, and I was at, Henry Aaron making his home debut in 1975.
Right.
With the Milwaukee Brewers. He was just traded here. They started on the road that year at Boston. And I was here for, I saw Henry Aaron's first. So I've been to every opening day since 1975, except for 2020. I don't count that because there was no fans, and I didn't cover it with the media. We did it remotely from home, so that doesn't count though.
Right. Yeah. The thing about it is with opening day, as much as I love opening day, I don't usually go.
Yep.
I've been to a lot of them. It's fun. The pageantry is great, and everybody wears the suits and the ties and the whole thing. And then you get back to regular baseball and regular coverage the following day. It's kind of like New Year's Eve. That's when everybody goes out who doesn't normally go out, and then it settles down after the fact. Although it used to be like we'd go County Stadium, opening day's packed, pageantry, snow, doesn't matter. We're out on the loge, freezing our ass off. And the next day, there's 47 seats available in the press box because nobody shows up until the weather gets warm.
Well, like today's game, Bill. Today, they'd play today's game. It's borderline because sometimes they'd call games because of cold.
Right.
But like last night, I went to bed after doing my podcast, and it was where I live in Lamira. The snow was coming down, and it was like, I'm like, man, I got to run into this in the morning. It was all gone by the time I woke up. But in the cold, it's no fun sitting. The best thing the Brewers ever did was put that roof up there, so we can sit kind of in comfort today.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Why wouldn't you have done this in Minnesota? Why wouldn't you have done this when they were building the ballpark in Detroit
or Chicago?
Chicago
had like a 3-hour rain delay yesterday.
Yeah, Chicago. Well, I mean, when Chicago built, what is it called now? That craptastic stadium that
I used to call Comiskey Park,
whatever that thing is. When they built that, and now they're looking to build again.
Yeah,
they're looking for another stadium again.
Did you see the White Sox tarp situation, by the way, yesterday?
No.
Did you see this? So you normally roll out one big tarp. The White Sox tarp fit like 2/3 of the infield, and then they had other random brown and green.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, it looked like a quilt,
like a patchwork.
I'll pull up
quilt?
a picture. Yeah,
prepared.
It's so perfect.
Yeah. Wow, that's. It just, for like Chicago, that's a major city, and it just keeps getting more and more embarrassing.
Look at that!
Look at that! What the hell happened? Did the thing rip in half or something?
I don't know.
That's embarrassing.
Budget cuts. It had to come out of the tarp budget.
That's good God. Was Krause just like? Did he sell off half of it?
It's bad. Yeah, the White Sox. Reinsdorf. He needs to sell his team.
Oh, Reinsdorf.
He needs to sell his team. Well, I explained this to my 13-year-old the other day. I said, Brady, there used to be rain delays at Brewer games.
Yeah.
Before this roof wasn't here before you were born. And there was rain delays, so you'd go to a game and you wouldn't know when the game is going to start because it'd be maybe cold or sprinkling outside. You get to the ballpark, you'd wait 2 hours. At about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, they would say, well, the game is called.
Right.
Keep your stubs.
It was I grew up where it was AstroTurf at Riverfront Stadium. So rain delays we loved as kids because you got to watch the Zamboni suck up the water in the outfield and shoot it over the wall. And, they just all they had was those 4 tarps around each spot on the base paths because they didn't have a dirt infield. It was an AstroTurf infield. So rain delays were awesome because as kids, you'd go watch them Zamboni the field and hang out for a while, and then by then everybody left. So that's why I got to watch Tom Browning's perfect game.
Sure,
was because they had a rain delay and we all moved down. We were all sitting in the third row behind the dugout.
And I remember Cincinnati was like the one city, and it might have changed, where they didn't have the 1 o'clock curfew. So if there was a rain, I remember one time watching, like when I was a kid, the Reds and the Cubs were playing at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
there was rain, but since Cincinnati didn't have the curfew, you could be playing after 1 o'clock in the morning.
Be awesome. It was awesome back then. But, today's and they didn't put a roof on their stadium either.
No.
When you talk about Cincinnati, now their weather is somewhat similar to ours. They get about 2 or 3 weeks earlier spring and 2 or 3 weeks later fall than we do. But theirs is relatively similar to what we have here.
And look at St. Louis. They had a rain delay the other day, too.
Like all my buddies, they live in the Twin Cities. They go to Twins games. They're very protective of the skyline. You want to be able to see the skyline. And it's like, well,
it's not PNC for God's sake.
Well, right.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so you got the Target building or whatever. But if the game can't be played, who cares?
Right.
What you can see or what you can't see.
Yeah. Maybe you can look up and see Tim Walls waving at you or something like that on one of those high-rise buildings.
On top of it, what the Major League Baseball likes to do, like the Twins will have some early season games, and like who didn't see those games canceled? So you'll see sometimes 2, 3, 4 Twins games in a row called off because of snow.
I don't understand why they start unless you have a dome or like the Brewers do. Why are you starting games in Major League Baseball in northern cities to begin with?
Why was Chicago and the fans who went down there and went to the games at Comiskey Park, we'll call it. They had the bare 40-degree temperatures yesterday and the rain and all that. Well, who wants to watch a game doing that?
Yeah, they short-sighted themselves when they built that stadium.
Yeah.
And which they could have at the time. That was one of the first ones. You had Progressive, which was then, the Jake. And then they ended up building that stadium.
I remember when that was built in the mid-'90s.
Right.
That was like the new age stadium.
Right.
Same with Camden Yards.
Right. Exactly.
It was like, wow, look at this modern stadium. Oh, then now they're kind of antiquated.
Yep. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Going to come back. First hour down. We got 3 more yet to go. We are broadcasting live down here at Stenny. Second and National Walker's Point is where you can find us. The shuttles are going to start running here in about 5 minutes. The first one's going to start pulling out. They're just letting people know, if you heard the announcements in the background, it is a packed house with Brewers fans down here, all anticipating the game and the opener at American Family Field. The Brewers hosting the Kansas City Royals today. A lot of the ceremonies get underway at about 12:30-ish, and you want to be at least inside the ballpark for a lot of that. So, again, we are broadcasting live at Stenny's. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show live down here at Stenny's coming up right after this.
They're like $40. It was great. Appreciate you guys. Have a good
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Milwaukee Brewers would go out to New York to start the new Major League Baseball season, and it was one to forget for the crew as they would get swept by the Yankees. Opening day Thursday saw the Brewers lose 4-2, but then the floodgates would open over the weekend as New York would launch 9 home runs in a 20-19 victory and then hit 4 more long balls Sunday in a 12-3 rout. In all, the Brewers gave up 15 home runs in a 3-game sweep. Just 3 games into the season, the Brewers pitching staff now holds a team ERA of 12.75. The Brewers now look to notch their first win of the season for their home opener. First pitch is today at American Family Field. The crew is sending Elvin Rodriguez to the bump opposite of the Royals' Chris Bubik. Turning to the Bucks, despite 31 points from Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Deer have now lost 4 straight as they fell to the Hawks at the Pfizer Forum last night, 145-124. The Bucks now sit 6th in the Eastern Conference with 8 games remaining. There's more from Kevin Porter Jr. on where their team's mindset is at.
Things will be a lot different if he was healthy, but this team's so good. We can't let that be an excuse. We know we're supposed to win tonight. We're supposed to win, the last couple of games. So we just gotta be ready. Next man up, mentality, and stay with it.
Up next, the Bucks host the Suns tomorrow.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin, Rural Mutual Insurance is rewarding their farm policyholders for their loyalty and commitment to Wisconsin agriculture through their farm dividend program. The farm dividend pays up to 5% back on your farm premium. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn how you could qualify.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
The NFL League's meetings began this weekend, and the Packers' proposal to ban the tush push has support within the competition committee. And up next for the Packers will be the NFL's draft, just 24 days away in Green Bay. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Show. We are live. We are at Steny, second and National Walker's Point, and the shuttles are going to be running here momentarily. They've got the Bloody Marys that are going. The wings are going. The Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread is going. Grant Bill's alongside. So is Chuck Freimund from the Locked On Brewers podcast, and we have got a lot of baseball fans in the house. Pretty interesting in the sense of a lot of people excited about Brewers and opening day and the tributes to Bob. All of that's going to be taking place in the horrific start has not totally dampened everybody's mood, we'll say. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
no, it hasn't because of, it's opening day.
Now, if they lose today, No, it'll be sucking swamp water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't lose today. I mean, you don't want to start the season 0-3, but to lose in the opener, if you win today, you kind of get a little redemption back for the weekend. But, with Elvin Rodriguez, I don't know what to expect today, pitching, to be honest with you. Who knows what they're going to get from him?
Right. And like you said, he was in Japan, then he was with Tampa Bay. He's kind of journeymaned around, and he's your fourth guy in the rotation.
Right now. And
you know?
They don't know who fifth is, and as Grant was saying a little while ago, about Savali is going to go on the injured list, so they're missing. So they're without their 3, 4, and 5 starters right now.
And Savali hamstring, right?
Yes, Savali's got a hamstring. Quintana, hopefully he's going to be able to start pitching pretty soon here. That's taken a little longer than I expected. Yesterday, Bill, what bothered me about that game yesterday, not only that they lost, they got killed and they got destroyed. Reese Hoskins, this righty-lefty thing, I get it, but Reese Hoskins, to me, is an everyday player. And when I saw the lineup yesterday, when I came up, I exploded at 10 o'clock in the morning, saw the lineup, and Jake Bowers is playing first base, a guy they signed to a minor league contract who was on the team last year, batted about 203. Hoskins is your everyday first baseman. He should play lefties or righties, irregardless. And Hoskins was not in the lineup yesterday. Let's get this guy on a roll and get him in the lineup every day.
Yeah.
And they said, they were saying on the broadcast, well, he doesn't have very good numbers against Marcus Stroman. Who doesn't have good numbers against Marcus Stroman? But still, I want to see Hoskins in every day. I don't care if a lefty. I don't want to be doing this platoon thing at first base, lefties and righties.
If you've got somebody that's bona fide matchup better statistically, I get it. But you don't. Your option is not like a lot better. Your option is just I'm playing the statistics, so to speak.
So I put that on Twitter yesterday. I said, I want to see Reese Hoskins in. I want to see him play every day, irregardless. And about an hour later, Jake Bowers hits a home run. And, of course, you know how it works on Twitter. Oh, Chuck, that one didn't age too well. You know that guy comes at you.
Well, but then give me the statistics over a course of a season.
Yeah.
Rather than over a course of
one at bat.
One at bat and one game in Major League Baseball, that's dumb to have a reaction over unless you see it consistently throughout the season. So, but there's always, there's always somebody waiting to jump.
Of course.
It's, the funny thing is there's not many people that go, I completely agree with you. This is great. Oh, over a season, it's no big deal. They just wait. Oh, yeah. And then when it doesn't age well, they want to be the first ones to point it out.
Of course.
But they don't say anything. It's the same thing when I do tell me what's going to be the next play on a 3rd and short. And everybody that wants to criticize the play calling from like a Matt LaFleur, that was the dumbest play if it didn't work. Yeah. Nobody says a word before the play gets going. When you'll say, hey, I think they're, doing this, they should probably run a crossing pattern or this and that. And they do, and then it works, and silence. But the minute it doesn't work, then the naysayers come out of the woodwork.
You run a double reverse pass, and you take a 15-yard loss.
Right.
Matt LaFleur's the dumbest guy in the world.
Right.
But if it works for a touchdown strike,
right?
God, what a great play!
Yeah. Or you got the people that say, "Well, that was a dumb call. They got lucky, so they'll call it again." And okay, whatever. Yeah. So it's the naysayers are always going to be the finger waggers, without a doubt. We were talking about how many opening days it's been. What's the most memorable?
Most memorable, 1980. I want to say, I know it's going way back.
I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I'm smiling because I know this is going to be a great story. That's not commentary on your age, your wisdom, not your age.
Sixto Loscano hit a walk-off grand slam opposite field of Dick Drago of the Boston Red Sox. I was in 7th grade, and the Brewers beat the Red Sox, and they beat them 10-9 on Loscano's grand slam in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Oh wow!
Great call by Uecker on the radio, and that was a real good baseball team that didn't make the playoffs. Of course, you only had 2 teams from each, 1 team from each division, 2 from each league making it. But to me, that was it. It was. I want to say 79 or 80. I think in 1980, 7th grade, Loscano's grand slam. Any old schoolers out there might remember that game. I was like 12, 13 years old.
They credentialed anyone back then.
What's that?
They credentialed you at 13 years old?
No. Is anybody living still from back then? That's what I want to know.
My first one was here when I went to work for the flagship, and I remember the old Marty truck sitting outside, and it was flurrying and cold as hell, and We were taking turns diving inside the truck just to get warm, and that was back when the players used to walk past you to get into to the bowels of County Stadium. So, and then sitting outside with all you guys, when the snow flurries are flying and we're all standing up for the anthem thinking, how are we going to stay warm in this one? And then probably the opening of Miller Park. And that was for the fact that it's the first time I ever met a sitting president.
Sure.
So,
how'd that work?
President Bush it was really cool. It was, he was a baseball guy.
Yeah.
So when we got introduced to the president, this is the sports guys, and suddenly he was talking to us Texas Rangers baseball, American League, National League, if we like the DH, and it was like a 5-10 minute conversation with the president, which was really kind of cool, And then obviously, the Big Daddy Dan D'Amico was the starting pitcher that day, and then we finally got the game going. But that was probably one of the more memorable ones for me. Otherwise, they start to blend together after a while. Unless there's something dramatically spectacular, they start to blend together after a while.
That's funny. You meet like the president, I suppose, or the politician or somebody in the band, a rock star or whatever. Yeah. And you start talking about something other than what they do for a living.
Right.
Like sports or whatever.
They couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
I met Alan Jackson once, and a long time ago, I'd actually keep him company for about 35 minutes. And he was a big sports fan.
Yeah.
And he talked about auto racing and all that. But I didn't know any of his music to begin with. But he was, he was just going on and on about sports. He was a big sports fan.
Right.
If they find you're a sportscaster, they love that.
Alan Jackson, I got to ask you, was he sitting or standing? Because if he was standing, did he wear his pants up to here and have the male hoof going? Because that's all I remember from an Alan Jackson concert.
No, this
years
was
ago.
Bill, this was 1990. He was like the opening act to the opening act.
And, he was just starting out.
And I was working at a station in there was a country station. If I was working at the other station, and the program director asked me, "Hey," and Alan was in to do an afternoon interview on the radio show. "Hey, can you keep Alan company for about a half hour? I have to run down to the Milwaukee Arena." And I said, "Oh man, I want to get the happy hour at Chi-Chi's."
Right.
So I kept, and I've never heard of this guy before. So I kept him company in the newsroom, hung out with Alan Jackson for 30, 35 minutes. By next year, he was the CNA Music Star of the Year with that Chattahoochee and all that. But I'd never heard of him prior to that.
Were you in Eau Claire at the time, or were you in Milwaukee?
No, I was in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
I was in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
met Alan Jackson.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine used to work at the Pfister, and he used to have to do all kinds of the errand runs for all the stars, and he had to take Whitney Houston to a movie one time because she wanted to go to see a movie, and he had to babysit Britney Spears one time, and during Summerfest,
sure, when
all the shows are in town and all the stars are in town, you got to do whatever you got to do.
So was he a bellman?
No, he was an AGM.
Okay,
and he was the guy that they trusted.
Yeah.
To be with some of these stars, and so he was the guy that has to take care of them. So yeah, he said he had to take Whitney Houston to a movie. She wanted to go see a movie, and I had another friend of mine one time had to kind of hang out with Sheryl Crow, and that was back in the days when she, I think, was experimenting with recreational things.
Well,
she was a mess.
That's funny about Sheryl Crow. When I was in Hawaii, 1997, I was in Hawaii, and went to a surf shop there, and the guy just told me, he goes, this is when Sheryl just started getting on the charts. He said, "You just missed Sheryl Crow." And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, she was flying high."
Yeah. Remember when she sang, what was this Soak Up the Sun, whatever that song is?
Hit.
She sang it over here, and she sang the lyrics twice and then forgot the third set of lyrics, and they booed her off the stage.
Oh.
She was a mess that time.
Remember when she jumped on that Bucks train a few years ago?
Yeah.
She brought her kids down.
Yeah.
And
What was that, by the way?
She's good friends with a guy named Jim Kazmarek, who owns Capco, and very good friends. And her friends,
Jim is,
her friends were Bucks fans at the time, and they all became friends. And so, as a matter of fact, when Jim had his birthday party down here, which I think was his 55th or 60th, I can't remember, but she played it. Okay. So we went to his birthday party, which he does like every 5 years. It's massive. It started out that there was a girl named Dominique, the guitar. She does an Instagram thing. She's like Instagram famous. And then it was Johnny Resnick from the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yep.
And then it was Sheryl Crow. She played for almost 2 hours.
Okay.
And we thought that was it. Was getting leaving. He's like, "Don't leave. There's probably a couple hundred, maybe 800 people there. And don't leave. We got one more band." We're all like, "It's 11 o'clock at night, and they changed over the stage." I'm like, "Who the hell they got?" And then they brought out the Fray. That was his birthday party.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's
It's a pretty expensive birthday party.
That's party money right there. That's not like our Christmas party down in the downstairs or anything, but
I've never been tasked with that in my years of my limited years in radio. No one's ever been like, "Hey, here's Sheryl Crow. Make sure she doesn't end up face down at the bar at
Right.
Monica's.
Right.
She's got to play Summerfest in 2 hours."
I did that with Faith Hill when Faith Hill was just kind of starting out.
Oh yeah.
They when I did the country stint real quick in Cincinnati, and we were hosting. It was called a White Christmas, but Laurie White was the headline.
Yeah.
She was a country star at the time. And Faith Hill had just released her first album. She was just out promoting her first album. And I got down to Music Hall hours early. You know how it is. You got to put banners up and all that stuff with your promotional people. And they said, hey, Faith is here. And it was Christmas, so she's having Christmas dinner by herself. Like, you guys want to come on? It was myself and a promotions girl. And she's like, well, I'm going to go finish putting up the posters. I'm like, I'll go sit with Faith Hill. I don't care. And we sat and had turkey and mashed potatoes in her tour bus.
That's not
and
bad.
that was it. So that was my brush.
She never called you? Is that what you're
She never did. No, after that, it was all Tim McGraw all the time, which she was like unbelievably pure and nice and just the most wonderful person. And he was just a total dick.
Oh, really?
When I met, oh, God, if he would go down in a plane crash, I wouldn't pee in flames out. He was such a jerk to listeners and fans and friends.
I would have
oh,
guessed
my God.
See, I would have guessed it would have been the reverse.
No.
McGraw comes across as like the everyman.
No.
Well, now he doesn't drink anymore.
He doesn't drink anymore.
He had
That's
that
why
problem forever.
he was remember when he came out with the song Don't Take the Girl?
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yep.
We
Great
had
song.
hosted a party at the Cincinnati Gardens back before they tore it down, and he was doing his show there. And so we had to take listeners backstage.
Yeah.
And he was hammered. He's hammered, sitting on a
wow.
couch, and we walked back, and they're like, okay, Tim, you got your fans here. We had like 30 people from the radio station. And I just said, hey, my name's Bill Michaels. I just want to introduce myself. He said, do I know you? And I said, no. I said, I'm just meeting you. We're with the radio station. Well, then get the F out of my face.
Oh, really?
And then he threw up on himself.
One of those guys.
And then he forgot the words that Don't Take the Girl.
Yeah.
And they booed him there, too. So
he cleaned himself out so don't forget the words.
that was
anymore.
it. Yeah. So he ended up meeting and greeting a few people, and there was other people that he was making fun of. He was just a total jerk to everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody left kind of – it's kind of like seeing Superman without the cape, and then you're like, oh, this sucks,
Well, they always say, like, if you meet somebody, like a celebrity, you might have caught him on a bad day.
Sure.
Is that true, though? I mean,
I don't know. I've never met you on a bad day, Chuck. I was worried to meet you, but you never disappoint, ever.
Well, that's why I always try to remain cognizant when people come up and say hello. You're kind of like, you got to get moving, but you don't ever want to brush anybody off.
You don't want to be.
You want to be a man of the people.
You want to be a man.
That's what you want to be. I don't mind that. So there you go. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a who is Sheryl Crow, Dwayne says. Well, you got to look her up, I guess, Come on.
Really?
And Jim says, yeah, it's name dropping time. That's okay. We've done some things. I don't mind that. We've met quite a few people, so get to hang out with a few. Let's do this. We're broadcasting live. We're at Stenny's here, 2nd and National in Walker's Point. Chuck Freimund alongside for one more segment, and he's going to take off. Grant Bills is here. The shuttles are starting to run now. The first one's now gone. The second one is now pulled up. And if you want to go to the ball game and you want to get dropped off at the front door of American Family Field, you can swing by here, get yourself a beverage, something to eat, and then head over to the game and still be in time for the opening ceremony. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show live down here on Brewers Opening Day coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Being a Pella consultant means helping people build their dreams.
For Jenna, helping others find joy is so rewarding. It's why we love to do what we do.
I enjoy simplifying the process for the customer, taking the time to listen and finding the right solution.
Randy understands that everyone's situation is different, so we don't just slap together cookie cutter solutions.
Customers really appreciate just how prepared we are. All the samples, the videos, pictures.
Jake arrives at your free in-home consultation with pre-prepared materials to fully envision your dream Pella build.
We're with you from start to finish. You literally have a friend from beginning to end and beyond with your project.
Whether you're working with Ryan or another Pella consultant, we don't go away after the sale. We're ready with anything you may need before, during, and after installation. And right now, at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get 0% interest up to 72 months. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply. In 3/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes.
Independent business owner, those things are, it's hard to start those things up. These guys obviously. But I remember, Bill, in this place, all that wasn't there. This wasn't here. It was just.
Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes.
There were tables here, that whole back place. Yeah, I remember in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Coming here. This is like 1990. It was so popular, you'd have to wait in line. You'd have to wait in line.
Oh yeah, it was always a line down the street every time. When I first got to town, it was a line down the street.
Good, how you doing? Good to see ya. Yeah, covering opening day. Get every radio station, TV station.
Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
What's up? Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything. They're a little slow today over there in Miller Parkway.
I would swallow my pride, I would choke on the lines, but the lack thereof will make me up inside. I would swallow my doubt, turn it inside out, find nothing but faith in.
Welcome back to the program. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Cousins Subs. If you're not down here at Stenny's and not going to the game, maybe today you swing by Cousins, you grab something on the go, and then you head back home or to parts unknown and get yourself some Cousins Subs, whether it's the cheese curds, the shanks, the fries, or the tremendous subs. On the lighter side, the grilled side, whatever it happens to be, that's our friends at Cousins Subs. From 1972 on, based right here in the state of Wisconsin, that is Cousins Subs. Thanks to Cousins Subs for being a part of the program. Certainly appreciate it. Chuck Freimund alongside. Grant Bill's here as well. We got a packed house down here at Stenny. Second and National Walker's Point. The buses are now rolling, taking people. The shuttles are taking people over to American Family Field. We're sitting here talking about the Brewers opener, kind of waxing nostalgic about a lot of different things. That being said, today's game, obviously, you want to win today's game for so many different reasons, but let's be honest. I mean, if they don't win this game today, you're talking about a complete deflation coming out of the gate. And not only what will tomorrow be like, but you've got so much hype for this stuff, and opening day being what it is, and the Brewers have so much anticipation from fans, and the Cubs have made strides, the Reds have made strides in the offseason they felt. And then you start out 0-4, like you said, Chuck. That would be your longest losing streak to match last year's longest losing streak of 4 games. Now you're kind of like feeling desperation mode.
Even on a bigger picture, you don't want to go 15-31 to start the season.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to dig yourself in a hole to start the season. The old saying in baseball is you can't win a pennant in April, but you can certainly lose it. We saw the Cardinals a couple of years ago. They got off to a 15-30 start, and that was it for them. But I'm not saying the Brewers are going in that direction. But in April, you have to play at least 500 baseball.
Right. No, I would agree. I mean, that's why I say if you can play 500, get through April into maybe mid-May and start getting some of your pitching back, that's not a bad way to go. But they got to stop the bleeding today. And if they can't do it with pitching, then pray to God that they at least hit the hell out of the baseball today.
Yeah, but you need that pitching to come around. Hopefully they get a good start from Rodriguez and get the offense. The one guy who did have a pretty good weekend offensively, Bill, was Sal Frelick.
Yeah.
We talked about how he put on the 25 pounds of good weight in the offseason and muscle and all that, and ate some good pasta. He must have went down to the old stomping grounds and got some good pasta.
Went down to Calderon.
Got a Calderon and got some
put on
Bill
some
Michaels
of the
special.
Put on some of the carbs or something like that.
Yeah, because it was good weight.
Yeah.
And he, what it was is he said he went back to his home where he's from out east. His mom says she's the best Italian cook ever. And he went and worked out and ate a lot of pasta and put on some weight and put 25 pounds, and he's hit the ball hard.
Yeah.
Had a great weekend. One of the few guys that did. So let's hope that carries over and get some power numbers out of Sal this year.
I would love to see not only Sal, but then eventually when Blake Perkins comes back, the defense continues to play extremely well. The outfield, they really didn't have errors like loading up in the outfield or anything like that this past weekend. You saw guys getting to baseball. I love the fact that we saw, Jackson Churio cover ground in right field. You saw Sal Frelick make a diving catch yesterday, I think it was.
Came up a little sore with his shoulder, and I thought maybe there might be something on him today too, guys.
Nothing, but when that happened, I'm like, oh boy, here we
go.
Did
Okay.
Right, and didn't Ortiz take a ball off the hand or something?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
They have a little more outfield depth, not a ton. They have zero infield depth.
Right.
So, and that was my nightmare all spring training. It's like, well, what if Terang or Ortiz just takes a ball off the hand and they need to miss a month?
Well, you saw Freeland play a little third base this weekend too, so that might be the option.
Yeah, Jake Bauers pitched too. I don't know. If I would like for the things that took place over the weekend, I would like for those things to not be the norm moving forward, ideally.
All right, what's the over and under, guys, on Bauers? How many games he's going to get in a pitch that they're going to throw him in there to save the day?
Oh, man.
I'm going to say 4 on the season.
4? Oh, man, I'm thinking maybe like 7 or 8. He's already got 2 in.
I'll say
clear.
4.
He's their guy. That's clear.
I'll say 4 on the season, hopefully.
I mean,
that's it.
I mean, Aaron Judge, they were so afraid of Aaron Judge by Sunday, they were walking him at the end. And then when they had Bauers in, the Yankees had mercy on the Brewers and said, all right, we'll pinch hit for Judge here.
Right.
We'll cut you guys a break. That's embarrassing.
Yeah. It is, but had Judge hit, he could have knocked the scoreboard over.
Yeah.
That's the way he was hitting this past weekend. Starting out completely on fire. I mean, and I'm going to be really interested to see what the Yankees do from here on out, whether it's the torpedo bat or it's just the fact that the Brewers pitchers were – because if the Brewers pitchers give up 5 home runs again today, then, it's more Brewers pitching than it is anything. And Bill Schroeder said it, like, look, if you're going to try to work the corners, you better hit your corners. Because you had balls that were just crossing the dead meat middle of the plate, belt-high fastballs that just weren't doing anything.
But you look at the Saturday's game, the Yankees hit 9 home runs, which broke a Yankee team record.
Yeah.
And you think of all the guys, they broke a team record against the Brewers. And we're talking a Yankee history with Murderers Row and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and later Joe DiMaggio in the 30s.
Mickey Mantle.
Mantle. That's how bad the Brewer pitching was, that the Yankees broke a home run record that those previous guys never set.
Right. That was to watch 3 pitches, 3 home runs. and as a Brewers fan, you're sitting there going, well, you know what, if that's it, you get an out. Okay, the Brewers can go back and still win this game.
Sure.
Then you go throw laundry in for a minute. You come back and it's 7-1, and you're like, oh wow, you still got a shot, and it was out of hand by the 5th inning.
Had 5 walks in 2 innings. It's not like he was striking the other guys out.
Right.
Like Freddie Peralta, you see that he's either going to strike a guy out or give up a loud fly ball. Like Nestor Cortez was getting nothing to go his way.
It was ugly, to say the very least. It was just a weekend that, as a Brewers fan, you're like, it couldn't have started any worse other than maybe getting injuries on top of it.
I wonder how the ballpark will feel from the first inning. Like if this game starts the way the last 2, how the ballpark will go 10-0 in a matter of 30 minutes today.
Right.
That's how this
lose
goes.
some of that buzz. That definitely could be the case. It's funny because after Saturday's game, I sit down to watch the game yesterday. My 13-year-old kid again, and my kid goes, Dad, they're playing the Yankees again. The Yankees are going to kill them. And I said, nah, son, That's not how baseball works. Sometimes when you lose 20-9, a lot of times you come back and win the next day.
Right.
Or play better, and sure enough, it ended up going the same route.
Yeah, it was not a good weekend by any stretch of the imagination. Apparently, we have the Jägermeister girls behind us. Didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
They're floating around back there, too. They're giving away all kinds of stuff over here.
You want to
today.
do a Yag Bomb before you head to the
No,
Yag
bombs.
No.
I already did a 5-hour energy.
No.
Okay, well.
Yeah, 5-hour energy and a Yag Bomb. That doesn't go well together. All it does is make you throw up faster.
Yeah.
That's it. The wings will fly, all right.
Yeah.
Especially I'm bouncing around in the back of the Stenny shuttle on the way there.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My
That
stomach's
would be-
making noises.
Especially that's all you've had. You haven't eaten anything else,
Well,
right?
I'm building a base. I had a piece of garlic cheese bread. I'm just drinking some water because I want to have a couple at the game. But you know me, Bill. If I start drinking too much too early, I'll fall asleep in the 6th inning.
Oh, I've seen this guy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When
Sleep
we
at the
were
wheel?
at Super Bowl,
That was bad.
we went to the, what was it, the Colonel's Palace.
Yeah.
The Colonel's Palace on Saturday night.
Commander's Palace.
The Commander's
That's-
Palace.
Okay.
Commander's Palace. It was Clement's birthday.
All right.
So we went. We had the crew here behind us. There was 6 or 7 of us at the table, and Mr. Martini over here started out with a martini, and I've never seen anybody drink a martini. He shouldn't even drank it. They should have just mixed it and given him a straw. Clunk, gone.
Okay.
He's like, I think I'll have another one. We're driving home later that night, and all you hear in the backseat is, he was out.
I was
out.
putting a martini.
I wanted to be rested for the show the next
Yeah,
day. That's
no,
valuable
that was
time
it.
in the car.
There was a little bit of discussion on the way home. I was the sober one driving.
Okay.
Kristen was slurring her words. Clemens was still trying to describe how he put a balloon in his teeth, and nobody should show the pictures on Facebook.
He was making it very clear that those pictures were not to be published.
The pictures were not to be published, and then he turned to Grant and said, "Right, Grant?" And all you heard was,
Well, the thing about Clemens,
that was the back of the car.
I think here's about Clemens. Clemens can stay out till midnight, 1 o'clock, but he'll be the first guy at work the next morning. Getting all the scoop.
Yeah.
He won't go to bed
on what's going on with the Packers.
When you live with him for a week at Super Bowl, he is the guy that gets back, takes a nap. Everybody else is going to go to dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we come back. Mike's up at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And then you get that final email from him of all the cuts at about 4:20 a.m.
Sure.
And then he goes to bed for about another hour. And then he's back up the next morning with you. And everybody's heading off to
Nothing gets by him.
No.
Nothing gets
he's
by him.
He's the hockey goalie of sports.
He is.
With so many saves, kick saves, it isn't funny. Chuck, you got to run?
Yeah, I got to get going.
Time to go?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to catch your shuttle as well.
Always great being with
There
you.
you go.
Yes.
Always good, man. And then Grant's, you're taking off too?
I think I'll catch the next shuttle whenever
Okay.
that is. If not this one, the one after.
The next shuttle runs probably about 10 minutes. I think they just made
Looking forward to joining you during the season.
Yep.
11:30 on
Locked On Brewers is back again
Thursday.
this year with us.
Yes. On
Tuesdays. So we're fired up about that.
Yep.
Well, enjoy opening day.
Appreciate it.
And,
Thank you. Have fun.
Any good shots you get, shoot them out on Facebook and Instagram and all that
We'll
kind of
do
stuff.
so.
And
We'll
there
do
you
so.
go.
Report back on the spread of what they got for you guys in the clubhouse today.
Well, they upped the meal. Now it's $14.50.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they upped it.
Oh,
It's amazing
my
how
God.
they
Email
treat the
it.
media, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just unbelievable how they treat the media these days.
That's
Yeah. Well, they always say
if I'm going to spend $14.50, I'm going out somewhere on the Loge level and pick up something.
I'm coming over to Stenny's first.
Right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Get the chicken wrap I just had. That was
that's
amazing.
Exactly the way to do it. This
Yeah.
portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Go to PellaWI.com. 0% for 72 months right now at Pella, but you got to call them 855 Pella WI. That's 855 Pella WI. Enjoy the game, Chucker.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, buddy. Talk to you. There you go. We're going to take a quick break. We're live at Steny, second and National Walker's Point. We got more coming up after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes.
Jacob, text me if you can hear me.
Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. We are glad to have you, and we are broadcasting live. We are here at Stenny, Second and National in Walker's Point. Chuck Freimund hung out with us for a while. We always appreciate Chuck. Grant Bill's now on his way, jumping on the shuttle, heading over to American Family Field and meeting a big group that came in town from the Zone, WOZN, the Zone in Madison, our flagship station, that brought a bus trip here to American Family Field. So they're all hanging out over there. And we, in the meantime, are hanging out here at Stenny's, and which is tremendous. It's an opening day tradition for us. Thanks to everybody that came by, and we got a great crowd on hand. And the amazing thing is that they've already taken 2 big, like, school bus loads of people, and this place is still filling up. So thanks to everybody for coming by and saying hello. We just had a guy named Mark and his crew. They just came down from Menominee, Marinette, WMAM. They listened to us on. And they came here specifically to say hello. So thanks to Mark. Thanks to the crew from WMAM that listened to us up there. And we appreciate them swinging by. This portion of the program is brought to you by our friends at MIBA, and they do hydrodynamic bearings for the power generation industry. And they are looking for right now some quality people, CNC machinists and such, and they're looking for you if you are that CNC machinist or people that work in the in that industry, because they are growing and they are paying top dollar and all the benefits that go along with it. So if you've decided to look for another job, or you're looking for a great place to go and work right now in an expanding field, go to Indeed and search M as in Michael, MIBA Industrial Bearings in Grafton, Wisconsin. Call them 262-337-2210, 262-337-2210. Again, 262-337-2210. That is MIBA Industrial Bearings in Grafton, Wisconsin. So thanks to them for being a part of the program and hanging out with us as well. Got a lot to get to, and I do want to get to everybody over in the live stream also. And as I had said before, we got a heck of a crowd that's here on site, as you can see, for those that are watching on the live stream right now, and it continues to get bigger and better down here at Stenny's. As you know, opening day is fantastic, and there's so many Brewers fans here. I will say this, though. A lot of Brewers fans here, excited about the day, excited more so about the tributes to Bob that are going to take place today, kind of than the baseball team. The way the Brewers got off to the, we'll say rough start, might be putting it mildly, but got off to the rough start in New York, and that really did put a little bit of a damper on things. But I guess optimism reigns supreme, right? You back at it today, you get a win or two in this series, suddenly you feel like you're back at it, and then you just kind of move on from there. But now, over the next 2 or 3 series, you'd like to win the series. I mean, it'd be great if the Brewers went on some kind of a win streak, which would be fantastic. But you just need to win series right now and just climb back out of the doldrums of below 500 to get either 500 or better. And then once you do, then you can start working on just kind of the feel-good feeling moving forward. But you've got Cincinnati, who's obviously a rival, coming to town this weekend, so they'll be here. You'd like to be able to get a couple of wins against the Royals. And then a team like Cincinnati that put some money into the team. Obviously, Terry Francona is supposed to fix a lot of the mental acuity that this team, that Reds team had problems with over the last couple of seasons. And that's a team that eventually, if they start to get it, they've got enough firepower to be able to win some games in the division as well. So you've already got a division rival coming up in Cincinnati this weekend. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. You can also text us, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. This is from Johnny, who says, is there going to be more discussion regarding the torpedo bats? At what point does Major League Baseball take a hold of this problem? I'll be honest with you. I don't, and this is why the rest of this week is important. So let's just say that the Brewers pitching staff continues to give up home runs, and the Royals are not using the torpedo bats, or they start to look at the home run ratio between torpedo bats and non-torpedo bats or what have you. Right now, it's approved by Major League Baseball. All they did was change the fat part of the barrel. They moved the meat of the barrel down. So basically, it's for hitters that have those inside pitches, and they don't get around on them really quick. So the torpedo bat still allows you, even with a late swing, to put the meat of the bat on the ball. All they did was change the width of the diameter of the bat a little bit and move it down. I don't know. I guess my biggest issue is I don't really have a major problem with it. I don't know how pitchers are receiving it and accepting it as to whether or not it takes away the ability to pitch on the inside portion of the plate because of that, because you should be able to jam guys. You know, you should be able to go towards the inner portion of the bat and make that part of your strategy as a pitcher. You know what I mean? But then again, we've been talking about hitting for such a long period of time, and why can't they adapt and why can't they adjust? And maybe because pitchers are coming in and throwing, 2 decades ago, there's, anybody that threw 90 was like unbelievable. Now, if you throw less than 90, it's unbelievable that you do. Most pitchers are throwing 92 to 97 miles an hour now, with big breaking balls and with big sliders and off-speed stuff. So that's the adaptation to that. Because if you can't get around fast enough and get the meat of the bat out over the plate in that period of time, so they're saying, well, then we'll change the bat a little bit to give you more of an opportunity to hit the baseball. Look, we'll find out if Major League Baseball ends up taking a second look at this. But as of right now, I can't imagine they're going to all of a sudden, as the season is now underway, walk in and go, okay, these bats are now illegal. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to keep the bats and say pitchers are going to have to adjust to it. Just another thing that they're asking pitching staffs to adjust to. First, it was the pitch clock, and now it's this with this torpedo bat. Here's the other thing. Eventually, which is what they did in spring training with that balls and strike system, having the challenges and such, eventually they're going to adopt that. You can see that coming down the road. So if you're going to have a system in which it is electronically going to judge balls and strikes, and you're going to have to pitch within that square, and you're going to take some of the umpire capability or a little bit of a wider strike zone or a smaller strike zone or what have you into account, it's going to be like this is the area that you're going to have to hit in, and the hitters are now going to have the advantage, which is what Major League Baseball wanted because they wanted more offense. You know what I mean? They wanted more offense. They wanted more scoring. They wanted the ball in play more often. Remember, it was like 6 minutes in between balls actually in play. Now it's come down to like 2.5 minutes for balls being put in play, mainly in part because of the pitch clock. And if they can get more of that with these bats, it then, in their eyes, makes the game that much more exciting. So we'll wait and see if they actually do anything about it or not. But Major League Baseball, I'm sure, is because that's all the talk. I mean, if you look at many of the different I was watching it on the Four Letter Network, on the MLB Strike Zone. I was watching it on some of the podcasts, some of the sporting podcasts that are out there. A lot of people talking about these torpedo bats and whether or not they should or should not be legal. But as of right now, they are. So the only thing I can say is, it's kind of like the tush push. You got to stop it. Is there an unfair advantage to it? Yes. But until they change it, you got to stop it. Oh, by the way, when it comes to the tush push, I saw that Sean McDermott, there is a growing thought or basis to say get rid of it because it is blatantly unfair. Because you're asking a single defensive lineman in front of a center or what have you to then be able to take on not only the lineman, but the quarterback, and then two guys pushing the quarterback behind him. I think they're going to still allow a quarterback sneak, obviously, but I wonder if the tush push is going to get growing support for banning it. Because I heard Sean McDermott's comments about it being blatantly unfair after they ended up removing the ability for defensive linemen and defensive linebackers to come in and push over a center or over a guard to say, look, you did this for player safety. Now you're asking a nose tackle to be able to fend off a center, a quarterback, a fullback, and another person behind him pushing for the amount of weight that is coming in his direction. So maybe for the, quote, sake of player safety, they will end up banning the tush push, but we'll have to wait and see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. We are live at Stenny, second and national. The next shuttle has now left, and that's got Grant Bills on it. He's heading over to the ballpark. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, we're going to hear from Mike Clemens. Mike is actually at the ballpark as well. He's there for all the ceremonies today. So we'll talk to Mike a little bit about some Packers stuff. We'll talk to Mike a little bit about what's going on over at the ballpark. I'm sure at some point or another we may or may not hear from Grant Bills. We'll have to wait and see. But we are broadcasting live down here at Stenny, second and national in Walker's Point, as it is an opening day tradition to be down here and to be hanging out with all you Brewers fans. It's such a fun time. It just is. If you haven't been here, and maybe you get a chance to come down and join us next year if you can't join us this year, but it's such a fun time. It's such a great crowd. It's such an enthusiastic bunch of people, and it's a lot of hope down here that the Brewers are able to put the train back on the track before it's all said and done. This portion of the program is from our friends at Marquardt RV, M-A-R-K-Q-U-A-R-T, Marquardt RV, and they've got 7, almost 8 locations. On Friday, we're going to be in Columbus, Wisconsin, opening up the brand-new Marquardt RV there, and the new cruiser is going to be on display. We're going to be giving away either your choice, either a big screen TV or Brewers tickets. And if you're the winner, you get to pick which you would prefer to have. But we're going to be on site, Marquardt RV in Columbus, Wisconsin, this coming Friday for the broadcast. So hopefully you get a chance to swing by if you're out in that area, whether it's Sun Prairie, Madison, and all the surrounding areas. Come on by and say hello and maybe get yourself registered to win the big screen TV or the low seats to go see a mutually agreed upon Brewers game. We're looking forward to that as well. But go to Marquardt, M-A-R-K-Q-U-A-R-T. That is Marquardt RV, whether it's Winnebago, a Thor motor coach, which they're beautiful, and that's what we're going to be cruising around this summer in. Tiffin, Braxton Creek, Gulfstream, Jayco, Cruiser RV, Glacier, You name it, they've got it, and they got great deals on pre-used inventory as well. That's our friends at Marquardt RV. Go to MARKQUART, MarquardtRV.com. That is MarquardtRV.com, and we'll see you on Friday.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. It is opening day. The Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Kansas City Royals over at American Family Field. We are glad you are with us today. We are live. We're here at Stenny's. But I want to let you know our friends at J&L Tire and Service Center, thanks to them for being a part of the program again this year. And they say thank you for voting them the best tire dealer once again here in 2025. And whether it's the service department, getting an oil change, getting something on the minivan, or all the way up to an 18-wheeler, if you're cruising down the street and you need any kind of service at all, they have the facilities for you. Don't forget, right there off of 94 in the Johnson Creek exit, just north of 94. You can actually see it from the highway. But stop in and tell Lyle and Chad and everybody over there hello. But they are trustworthy people. They warranty their work. They're just really, really good people over there, and that's who I take my vehicle to. That is J&L Tire and Service Center on Boulder Road in Watertown, but right off at 94 at the Johnson Creek exit, just north. You can't miss them. That's jnltire.com. That is jnltire.com. Again, we are live down here at Stenny, 2nd and National. The fourth shuttle bus now loading up and getting ready to take fans over to American Family Field, getting you there. We're about an hour and 15 minutes away from first pitch. And the tributes to Bob, the tributes to, obviously what Uecker meant to this community and such, and the national anthem and such are about 35, 40 minutes away. So if you're thinking about, heading over there from down here at Stenny's or anywhere else for that matter, you start making your way to the ballpark now to get yourself in the gate and to your seats by the time they start with all of that, which is probably going to be, I would assume for many, emotional, for lack of a better term. I would assume emotional. And here's the reason why. And Chuck Freimund said it best. He said, hey, look, Bob has been the soundtrack of our summers for a very long time. And you know what? You give him credit for that. For so many years, being the guy that kept Brewers fans entertained through the absolute worst of baseball. And then at the heights of baseball, being the guy that many people were rooting for, were rooting to get a championship for, because he had seen so much to the negative side. So, obviously that voice is going to be sorely missed. That being said, if you want to get over to the ballpark and get in there early and get to your seat by the bottom of the next hour, you want to do so, because that's about the time that all the tributes are going to begin. I do got some texts. I got some emails to get to that we were discussing a little bit earlier. Rock and Rick said forever they had the cupped bats where the end is hollowed out to take a couple of ounces out of the end, making the outside thinner. Would it do the exact same thing, but possibly you could swing slightly quicker with a thinner end than you would have as far as less resistance goes? I don't know. That's a great question. Again, I'd have to swing one. I've never swung a bat like that before. I mean, that's been a legal bat. I've swung, I've seen some fungo bats that have been kind of shaped like that to make sure that you toss it up and be able to hit it in a fatter, meatier part of the bat. When you're just hitting ground balls or fly balls and stuff, but I've never seen an actual legal baseball bat in that particular shape, in that torpedo shape. So it's interesting the way they've been allowed to manipulate that in that sense. But again, if all you're doing is moving the barrel of the bat down a little bit and the hitters gain somewhat of an advantage. I mean, I looked at it as the steroid era, right? There were guys that were ripping home runs that probably shouldn't have been ripping home runs, and it probably added about 10 to 15 feet to your swing with the power that you had. But you still had to have the hand-eye coordination to be able to hit the baseball, right? I mean, to me, that's what it's all about. So I don't know if it bothers me. I guess the torpedo bat bothers me, and here's the reason why. It bothers me because it happened to the Brewers, because we saw the Brewers embarrassed over the weekend. Otherwise, had it been the Brewers doing it, I don't think we would have cared, right? I don't think we would have cared in that aspect. So as much as we can look at it and say, well, the torpedo bat sucks, and I think it sucks, I just think baseball's baseball, It's not like all of a sudden they make the goalpost fatter at one end, to change things. I mean, they keep manipulating things in the NFL. I don't like it. I like the tradition. I like maybe old school, if you want to call me that. I like baseball being baseball. Baseball is our national pastime. Baseball is the game in which you're not supposed to F with it, right? It's supposed to remain the same, but they have eliminated the shift. They're bringing in that quiz tech, balls and strikes machine. We've gone to instant replay to get things right. It's pretty much eliminated arguments for balls and strikes with pitchers and umpires and, managers and umpires and such. Now it's just you turn around, you go to the replay, you kind of look at it, and then you say yay or nay. And it's taken away some of the flavor of baseball. You've got pitch clocks now to keep the game more exciting, to keep people off their phones, to keep people engaged in the game. So things have changed. So with it, on one hand, I'm very much old school, but on the other hand, I'm like, if it makes the game more exciting, if it doesn't take away the competitiveness of the game, with pitchers being able to throw now on the norm between 92 and 97 miles an hour, that's an advancement in the game. With the technology of advancement in those pitching labs, that's an advancement of the game. Why not, I guess, right? Why not? So we'll see. Right? Dwayne says the outfielders are going to be saying, go ahead and use the torpedo bat. I'm going to use my trusty telescoping fishing net to be able to catch balls and bring them back in the ballpark. That would be fantastic. I'd go with that in a heartbeat. We could see something like that begin to happen, although I think that's a little ridiculous, but I'd like to see that at least once before they outlaw it. That'd be kind of cool. Somebody's running around out there with a big fishing net that's got about a 20-foot extension on it, trying to hit it over that. I'd go along with that. That would make the game more exciting, right? But But again, how exciting do you want the game versus getting outside the realm of what the game is, the purity of the game? That it's a fine line that baseball has to walk. When we come back after the top of the hour, I want to get bottom of the next hour. We're going to hear from Brian Gutekunst of the Green Bay Packers. So he spoke today, and there's a lot there that we want to latch on to. When we come back after the top of the hour, something that Chuck said, and this is something that was going on throughout the weekend as well, and that is not only is Mark Attanasio is not going anywhere as far as the sale of the baseball team or bringing in any additional ownership group, at least not as of right now. But now there's a discussion that should Rob Manfred decide at some point or another that this might be the end of his career as the commissioner, is Mark Attanasio the guy that you would want running Major League Baseball? He's already headed up the group that ended up finding an out for the Oakland A's to then go away for the next couple of years and then become the Las Vegas A's. He's become more and more involved in things like that. Would he be an advocate for the small market teams in the sense, or, going to work for the rest of the owners? I mean, there's a fine line you have to walk, because can you still be an owner if you become the commissioner? He would then have to sell the team, most likely, because Bud Selig did. So if he then becomes the commissioner of baseball, you may get your wish. He may end up selling the team. But until then, he's not selling the team. He's not going anywhere. But Chuck said something. Have the Brewers earned your fandom? We want to be fans of Major League Baseball. Okay, so I'm not going against that. But have the Brewers done enough to earn your fandom the way there's passionate baseball fans here? I think that's it. I think that's interesting. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, it's the home opener for the Brewers today. Going to face off against the Royals this afternoon at American Family Field. They will do so down another starting pitcher. Team placed Aaron Savale on the 15-day injured list with a strained hamstring after he left his start yesterday in New York after just 3 innings. They recalled Brett Anderson from AAA to take his spot on the roster. Savale, just the latest starter to be unavailable. It's a list that includes Jose Quintana, Aaron Ashby, Tobias Myers, D.L. Hall, Brandon Woodruff, and Robert Gasser. It means they are counting on a guy like Elvin Rodriguez, who will get the ball today against the Royals. Manager Pat Murphy said they're hoping for 80 pitches from him today. Murphy added that they're in a real decimated spot right now and have another big challenge in the Royals coming in. Milwaukee's been outscored 36-14 in their first 3 games, giving up 15 home runs. Going to be the Brewers and Royals coming up. First pitch is at 1:10.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Well, the Packers are moving Elton Jenkins to center. GM Brian Gutekunst confirmed that this morning at the NFL's owners' meetings. It's possible because of the signing of Aaron Banks to play guard. Gutekunst said he believes Jenkins can be an all-pro at center. Also said that they're still working through the Jair Alexander situation. He didn't rule out him playing for the team in 2025, but said they hope to have a resolution before the draft coming up at the end of April. After getting a week off for spring break, the Badgers can be back on the field tomorrow morning for spring ball. And the Bucks off today after getting blown out by Atlanta last night. They'll host the Suns on Tuesday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome back. Hour number 3. Give us a shout if you choose to do so. Hour number 3 down here. We are broadcasting live at Stenny, second on National Walker's Point. It's opening day, And you have got a lot of fans down here that are getting ready to head over American Family Field. We're about, about a half an hour away, a little bit more than that, from the ceremonies beginning over at American Family Field prior to the Brewers and the Kansas City Royals taking shape. James over in the live stream says, Wisconsin Wires, tush push, torpedo bats, wow, wow. When you're losing, fans make excuses. James, there's a lot of people that are taking the torpedo bats. I don't mind as much. The tush push is blatantly unfair. It just is. I agree that, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. I get it. The problem is that you are not allowed defensively, if you understand the rules, James, and clearly you don't. You are not allowed to have a linebacker or another lineman come behind the center and push on this, come behind the nose tackle and push on the center. The center is kind of a protected entity, okay? It's basically man-to-man. That's it. You're not allowed to have extra help, we'll say, up the gut to blow up a center. They outlawed that years ago. So if that's the case, why are you then asking a nose tackle to take on a center, a quarterback, and two other guys about 200 to 245 pounds apiece, which basically by the time you put all the weight together is about 1,000 pounds coming at you? Why are you allowing that? Probably about 750 pounds coming at you. Why do you allow that, but you don't allow a player, a nose tackle, and a linebacker to line up over the center? That's where it's blatantly unfair. That's the rule that they've already made. They've outlawed that. Go back to, you can't even line up over the snapper for extra points or field goals. You're not allowed to jump a lineman. They've taken away a lot of things defensively speaking under the guise of player safety. So why then do you turn around and allow that to happen? And that's what the argument is that you don't have a way to defend it. That's the problem. As far as the torpedo bats go, it's, if you want to say and blame it on Wisconsinites, then you're a moron. You haven't watched anything outside of Wisconsin. It was the topic of conversation of ESPN. I saw Barstool Sports did a whole piece on this about how they didn't like it. Major League Baseball is now, the MLB Network is now questioning the torpedo bat as to whether or not it should be legal or shouldn't be legal. I mean, it's what everybody's talking about because of the power numbers that the Yankees put up over the weekend. Now, you got to wait and see if those power numbers begin to level out. But if they stay at this kind of a clip, which I can't imagine they would, but let's just say they stay at this kind of a clip, at some point Major League Baseball is going to take a look at this and say, you know what, we are making things far too unfair versus because remember, when the pitchers got it up to 92, 93 miles an hour, suddenly they were talking about lowering the mound. And when they were going to move the mound back by another foot, they wanted to make things a little more fair for the hitters. Now they've got a bat that makes the sweet spot even larger, which is almost like a softball bat to a certain extent, where they extend that sweet spot down near almost the label of the bat. So, granted, it's a few games into it. And that's about it. Few games. We'll wait and see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. So the Yankees go in the offseason. They go to an MIT engineer who engineers this bat this offseason for them specifically, who sets it up a certain way to say this is going to give you the most maximum capability of getting the sweet spot of the bat out over the plate, and then thus giving you more of an advantage against pitching. And it's so far it's proven to be very, very trustworthy, I guess might be the best way to put it, for the Yankees and their lineup. But you look at a guy like Aaron Judge, he didn't use it. Aaron Judge wasn't using the torpedo bat. Other guys were. So we'll wait and see if there's anything else about it. 877-867-1670. Find us. We'd love to hear from you. 877-867-1670. This guy is our buddy James, who says over on the text line, says, hey, Bill, I got a question for you about the Brewers pitching staff. With all the injuries that have begun to mount, at what point does Mark Attanasio and Matt Arnold need to make a move? Until you get some of these other guys back, what are they going to do? Savale now down with a hamstring injury. And for those that didn't hear, Savale is now down with a hamstring injury, so he now goes to the injured list. So he's going to be down now for a while. So you've got Aaron Ashby, Savale. Who else do you got? You got Gasser, DL Hall, Tobias Meyer, and Brandon Woodruff, all down right now. And sitting on the injured list. Now you can get some of these guys back. Remember, It was the strained lat muscle that DL Hall had, and that was back in the early part of February. You still got Brandon Woodruff, who is going to start kind of, I think, some rehab assignments is what they said. And he could actually, barring any setback, he could actually be back in about 6 weeks. You've got Tobias Myers, who also had the strained oblique, and that goes back to the middle portion of this month, and that's going to take probably another 6 weeks before he's back. But if you, and I said this a while ago, like if this team can hang on around 500 and not fall too far back in the division, because other than the Cardinals, who got off to a 3-0 start, nobody's run away with the division. Now, maybe the Cardinals continue to play at that kind of a clip. We'll have to wait and see. But you got 2-4 the Cubs. You got 1 win out of Cincinnati, 1 win out of Pittsburgh, no wins out of the Brewers thus far, and a 3-0 Cardinals team. But nobody expects the Cardinals to be on top this year with the young team and the way they've kind of went about it. But then again, we have seen a team like the Brewers, a young team that wasn't supposed to win anything, win the division. So you don't necessarily count the Cardinals out at this point. But you do look at it and say, if the Brewers can stay relevant through the end of April, they start getting some of their starting pitching back, which will strengthen the team overall. Then, yeah, you could start looking at this going, okay, maybe they can finally get themselves into a bit of a groove and a bit of a run. But they just can't afford to lose anybody else at this point. Right now, you've got Rodriguez, Cortez, Peralta. Those are your starters until they really need more. Trevor McGill gave up some runs. I mean, just the bullpen was not strong coming out of spring training. It has not been strong going through the entire series with the Yankees. As a matter of fact, it gave up quite a few runs at the series with the Yankees. And that's been kind of the Achilles heel when the bullpen we thought was going to be their strongest suit coming into the season. So it's going to be up to the offense to continue to put pressure like they have been able to do in the past on opposing pitchers. The problem is you don't have that guaranteed, or I shouldn't say guaranteed, but you don't have that legitimate threat of a consistent 3-run home run like you had with Willie Adames, who's also off to a slow start with San Francisco. But Adames was kind of that guy, that clubhouse guy, that heartbeat guy that gave you that hope whenever he came to the plate. So right now, they're just kind of feeling their way through it. And I hope they get a win today. They get a little bit of that monkey off their back. Maybe you get another win in this series. And then, again, it's just about winning series. You win a few series. Next thing you know, you're feeling good about yourself all over again. The spirit is back at American Family Field. But God forbid they go in and get shelled again today. They lose today. And then you're reeling at 0-4. And now you're thinking to yourself, what are we going to do? Because the next starter up, obviously, is going to be Willie Peralta. But you still have question marks about your bullpen. You still have question marks about your starting pitching. You don't have a win under your belt going into tomorrow's game if the worst-case scenario should actually happen today. So today's game, you hate to say today's game's a big game, and I have a 162-game season, but today's game, in a lot of ways, could be somewhat of a big game because you don't want to take another loss, specifically on an opening day at American Family Field. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670 if you want to give us a shout. Please feel free to go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. We'd love to hear from you. This is from Mark. Mark says, I think the Torpedo bat was used a little bit last year. It was used, but not in the same ilk as it was by the Yankees. If I'm not mistaken, I think, wasn't it Cody Bellinger that talked a little bit about it? Either on Thursday or on Saturday. Where they had something similar to that, but it wasn't this same specific design. It wasn't until this offseason that after there was a use of it last year that the Yankees reached out to MIT and they got that engineer involved who kind of made this bat for them. And that's when guys went out and actually had it made through Louisville Slugger. Louisville Slugger, I think, was the first one to start making bats this particular facet. And now other bat manufacturers are going to. So... But they did use something similar to this last year, but it wasn't. How do I put it? I guess it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same level as what the bat is this year. I guess that's the way to put it. So, no big deal. Look, get around it. The bottom line is throw enough pitches, enough off-speed stuff with enough heat to be able to, put it this way: if they're going to put the bat on the ball, they've got to hit it in the sweet spot to begin with for the ball to go out of the ballpark. The only thing that this bat does, for those that don't know, it takes away the ability to throw on the inside part of the plate consistently, because if you leave it in the middle portion of the plate over any white at all, I mean, you're going to have to paint the far inside corner of the plate for somebody not to hit a sweet spot on this bat. That's what that does. Other than that, it's the same principles as swinging a regular bat. There's nothing different about it. But you've got the inside pitch where normally you're hitting it off, say, the logo, and you're even breaking bats on the logo, those broken bat singles or broken bat ground balls or broken bat pop-ups. Now you're not doing that because they have moved the barrel down the bat somewhat by about an inch and a half. But that's it. That's it. But there was enough of a reaction to it nationally over the weekend that while players were being asked about it, and I'll tell you this, hitters are like, hey, if it helps me hit, I'll do it. I'll use it, which every hitter in Major League Baseball should be now doing that and looking into that. But it's now whether or not there's in some way, shape, or form an unfairness to that bat because you're taking away the capability for pitchers to throw inside strikes that then would saw the guys off near the handles and such, and that's basically what it comes down to. So no big deal. We'll see what happens. Let's do this. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Got some emails to get to here, too. By the way, coming up bottom of the hour, we're going to hear from Brian Gutekunst, who spoke a little bit earlier today at the owners' meeting. Some interesting stuff coming out of him. I'll tell you that. By the way, Steve says if Trent Grisham can use his hat to stop a ball, why not a fishing net? Right? Good point. Good point. Steve also says, back in 1979, I was a senior in high school, now a senior citizen, and a group of us went to opening day in my buddy's dad's work van. Keep in mind the legal age was back in 18 back then to drink. It was a monsoon rain, and we were still able to tailgate. And too many beers, we somehow got to grill a little bit, lit it in the rain. As we went in to put burgers on the grill, we realized that we had nothing to flip the burgers with. Being the resourceful bunch that we were, we found an old cross-cut saw in the van. So, in our infinite wisdom, we sterilized it with the beer, proceeded to cook the burgers. The highlight of the day was seeing a guy walking up the aisles at County Stadium in a full wetsuit attire, including the flippers, mask, and snorkel. Even though we were drinking, I will never forget that day, although the game was postponed. One of the best opening days ever. Let's go, crew. That's our buddy Steve in Richfield. Steve, that's a great memory, man. Whenever there's a couple of people you never forget seeing, and I would assume that whether it's an Elvis walking around the ballpark or a guy in a wetsuit with flippers, either way, you're never going to forget that. 100% agree. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. We're broadcasting live down here at Stenny, 2nd and National in Walker's Point. The shuttles are running. The beer is flowing. The wings are being made. The Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread is going out in the to-go packs, and they're eating that on the bus on their way over to American Family Field, where the Brewers are going to be taking on the Kansas City Royals coming up a little bit later on today. Don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. And again, a reminder, we're going to be at Marquardt RV in Columbus, Wisconsin, coming up on Friday, the Friday edition of the Bill Michaels Show. And we're going to be there celebrating the incoming weekend, opening up the brand new big unit cruiser, the 2025 version from Thor Motor Coaches. We're looking forward to that. But today is one of those days where if you're going to the ballpark, or maybe you're going to go to the ballpark later this week, got to do some tailgating. There is nothing better than stopping down at our friends at Robert's Specialty Meats in Waukesha. That's Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com on Sunset Drive, whether you're getting the different sausages that they hand make, the burgers they hand make, the garlic parm chicken skewers, or you're going to stop down there for the ribs on a stick. All you got to do is throw them on a grill, heat them up a little bit. Oh, my God, they're fantastic. They're delicious. He has his own sauces and such down there, plus all the fixings for whatever it is your tailgate fare happens to be, the pasta salads, the potato salads, and all that kind of stuff, too. That's our friends at Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. He is your hometown butcher.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. We are live. We are here at Steny, second and National Walker's Point, and our good friends from Potawatomi Sportsbook. That is a place to be today. They are piling in down there as well. Opening day for the Brewers. The Brewers and the Royals getting it underway in just a little bit at American Family Field, about an hour and, well, a little bit under an hour, as a matter of fact, about 50, 55 minutes from now. That game will get underway. But our friends at Potawatomi Sportsbook reminding you that not only do they have the sportsbook, but they got gaming, they've got restaurants, they've got music upstairs, both DJ and live bands. They've got the hotel, they've got the bars, places to go. It's all entertainment, all encompassing under one roof. That is our friends at Potawatomi Sportsbook. And go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com for all the information and all the action and what they are going to be hosting down there as well. Before we do anything else, let's go over to American Family Field. Pat Murphy, the manager of the Brewers, speaking to the media. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Mike, let's get this thing rolling.
Adam, why don't you,
Can't
why
wait.
don't you start us?
Adam, you asked the first beautiful question.
Beautiful. Last year,
Sorry, I've grown.
Is it okay if it's somewhat serious?
Oh yeah, please.
We asked Yelich Watkins, this would be the day where you would have come in to do the show.
Yeah.
And you would have had time with him. What were your thoughts walking in today and going in the office?
Yeah, I think about him, like you can't put the uniform on and not think about him, yeah. And it was a part of the day that wasn't necessarily part of the game. You know what I mean? Like it was a friend coming to talk to you. We had a job to do for 5 minutes in the show. Then there's a friend coming to talk to you with a wealth of knowledge and great stories and just a beautiful spirit that was, he was coming home, this was his home, Yeah.
Not to deviate too far into baseball things, but did you guys get any news on Savali's injury?
Yeah, we're going to put him on the IL. So that's our third starting pitcher out of 5 on the IL. So that's not good.
How severe?
I don't think it's that severe. I don't want to speak for, he hasn't had the MRI reading yet, but it's severe enough to know that he's going to need that time.
Steve in the middle. Other side, Steve. Other side.
Oh, there he goes.
You could just do a rundown. The injured pitchers, what the update is. I guess Hall, Woodruff, Myers. Just any update on
Mears, Quintana. Quintana's not injured, but he's building up. Mears, Quintana, and are the closest. Myers is after that. Then it's Savali will be in there too. So those four will be back, I believe, before May. Things can happen. So those four will be back, and then it's Hall, Woodruff, Ashby. Who am I forgetting? Gasser's way down the road. Gasser's August, September. And that's pending, how he come back from Tommy John. You never know. But Woody, DL, and Ashby are significantly further out. So, but we'll have those Quintana, Savali, Mears, and Tobias. Those four should be joining us hopefully before May.
Over here on the left.
Pat, another question for you. Over the course of 162 games and 6 months or whatever, how important was he just to kind of keep the perspective right?
Yeah, he was wonderful. He was a friend to so many, but he was an icon and a legend to many of these other guys who came in and, they're like, Hall of Fame Bob Uecker. He's 90 years old and he's still talking to me about, and he knows my cousin's name. He knows my wife's name. He knows my kids' names. He knows, it's amazing. These young players are like, I can't believe Bob Uecker remembered me. I was only here 10 days or, something like that. He just had an amazing way to connect with people and an amazing way to keep the game in the right perspective. Like right now, with what we went through in New York, with the decimated pitching staff and facing one of the best teams in baseball on the road, not having things go our way besides that in the game, 107-mile-an-hour ball hit the center field, caught, 30-degree launch angle. It's a home run in every park, and just the unfortunateness of it. And they beat our brains in the other innings. But you just had a way to put things in perspective. He had been through so much, and you knew he had. So he could calm you down. He could put you in the right frame of mind. He could joke about it. He had a beautiful way about him. It's once in a lifetime. It's beautiful.
Murph, what did you learn about Elvin in spring training, and then what kind of length can you hope for today?
Yeah, again, we're in a real decimated spot, and we got another great team, a playoff team in, and we learned about Elvin is that he'll compete. He's been in the major leagues before. He doesn't have too much experience, but his time in Asia helped him, and I think he pitched well. He pitched well enough to know that he could help us this year. So I think he's been stretched out to 70-some pitches, so I think we can expect maybe a little more, depending on some guys don't handle the adrenaline same way. So you watch a fighter go out in the first round and he's gassed by the second round. It doesn't matter that he's fought 4 rounds. He's just so gassed because the adrenaline overtook it. So we'll be mindful of that, but we're hoping he can get out to 80-plus pitches.
Pat, you deflected so much of the credit for the success, the individual success last season that you got, but I am curious, what does being the National League Manager of the Year mean to you when you look back on the 2024 season?
Oh, God. We're 0-3. Do you know that? I appreciate you mentioning it, that it really isn't an individual award. I'm not sure in 10 years from now, I'm not sure they'll have Manager of the Year awards anymore. I really don't. Just because, first of all, it takes so many other people are involved, and it takes the right group at the right time. And we had a great group of young people that nobody expected Jack Diddley from. And quite frankly, it raised the expectations of this year. Look what they did last year with nothing after cutting the budget and losing the Cy Young winner and and the injuries. And look what they did. So now the expectation is they should win it again. Well, you got one of the lowest payrolls and you got one of the inexperienced teams, and now you got the most injured pitching staff in baseball. Like, how do you navigate? But you might as well believe. You know what I mean? You might as well. So what does it mean to me individually? Like, it's a nice thing. I can't lie. It's nice, and people talk about it a lot. I'm a little embarrassed by it because I know the reality of it. You know, I really do. I know the reality of it. Did I probably do some good things? Probably. You know, do I have a lot of growing to do? Yes. And it really isn't about me. I'm just telling you. It's about those dudes over there.
Murph, you guys had a couple short starts in New York over the weekend, so you had to cover quite a few innings out of the bullpen. Just how are you feeling status-wise down there about the guys you have available going into this series?
Very scary, Jack, because great question, Jack. I love to say that in front of McKelvey. I just do. I just love it.
I have nothing to do.
Anyway, it's this early in the season. It's daunting to have these guys go back to back, to push these guys, squeeze like Payamps yesterday. He needs to get in the game. Then he throws 30 pitches. Like, ugh. You know what I mean? It's not normal. So now, can you bring him back today? In a normal day, yes. Today, probably not. So that hurts us more. You know, can you bring back young Connor Thomas after 57 pitches a few days ago? Can you bring him back today? Not in his best interests, you know? So now you're really depleted. So today and tomorrow, guys, hang tight. We're depleted. And that's unfortunate. And it's due to the short starts, and it's due to the Yankees taking advantage of it. And they give them credit. You know, they kicked our butts when they needed to. Responded every time we scored runs, they responded. So you got to pitch to win. You know, you got to pitch to win. And pitching is affected. It affects the offense. It affects the defense. When it's not right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to try to outdo you, Jack.
To be decimated at this point where you're coming off 6 weeks where you kind of control everything, what does that tell you about the challenges of preparing pitchers? Are there lessons here?
You know, it's interesting. Winter meetings in Dallas, MLB baseball showed us the amount of pitching injuries in spring training, and it was like their biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway from winter meetings is, hey, there's 90% more likelihood the guy gets injured in the off season or in spring training than during the regular season. I couldn't believe it. It was startling. But sure enough, it happened to us. And you can't control some of it. You know, you can't control an oblique. You can't control, some of the things that have happened. So you just roll with it. And you learn something. Now we have an opportunity to learn. This is what this is right here. We got an opportunity to learn. We haven't been smashed in the face like this in a long, long time. So we're smashed in the face. You got an opportunity to learn. And that's what it's going to be.
There you go. That's Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, just talking to the media. Let's do this. When we come back, he just finished speaking, and we're going to play it for you. Mark Attanasio, the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers, just met with the media as well. I wanted to cut Murphy short because I wanted you to hear what Mark had to say in many different facets. Obviously, opening day, I loved what Pat Murphy had to say about, his time doing the pregame show with Bob Uecker and such. I'm sure there's going to be some remembrance there. But obviously, the way the team has started, we want to hear what Mark Attanasio has to say. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more. We're broadcasting live at Stenny's. It's Brewers opening day. You're going to hear from the Brewers owner, Mark Attanasio, coming up next on The Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is The Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Being a Pella consultant means helping people build their dreams.
For Jenna, helping others find joy is so rewarding. It's why we love to do what we do.
I enjoy simplifying the process for the customer, taking the time to listen, and finding the right solution.
Randy understands that everyone's situation is different, so we don't just slap together cookie-cutter solutions.
Customers really appreciate just how prepared we are. All the samples, the videos, pictures.
Jake arrives at your free in-home consultation with pre-prepared materials to fully fully envision your dream Pella build.
We're with you from start to finish. You literally have a friend from beginning to end and beyond with your project.
Whether you're working with Ryan or another Pella consultant, we don't go away after the sale. We're ready with anything you may need before, during, and after installation. And right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get 0% interest for up to 72 months. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply. 3/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Can we do this? Welcome back. We are live. We're here at Stenny, second and national. Walker's Point, and the shuttles are kind of very gradually clearing out the fans that are here, getting ready to head over to American Family Field. Probably a couple more bus loads left, but the Brewers game going to get underway in less than 45 minutes. The pregame festivities are going to get underway probably momentarily, and all kinds of good stuff happening over at American Family Field. If you want to go and watch the game and you don't have a ticket to the game, hey, this is a great place to come. Obviously, Stenny's up in Lake Country. A lot of our supporters, I had talked about DJ's Goalpost being a great spot. You've got places all around, like our friends at Sobelman's right down there in Milwaukee on St. Paul Avenue. That's another really, really good place to go and check out the game, and it's not far away from the ballpark, as a matter of fact. You got other great places like Stoley's Hog Alley, who's part of our group, our friends out there at Smoke on the Water, and also Sloppy Joe Saloon and Spoon and Hubertus. I had mentioned Social House in Menominee Falls in the Brookfield area. Plenty of great places to go and catch the game and check it out for yourself, or games in general. Let's do this. Mark Attanasio spoke to the media just a little while ago. Let's take a listen to what Mark had to say. Here's what Mark talking to the media.
Coming out, Mark, you want to start us up, and then we'll go into questions?
Sure. Well, thank you, Bill. 21st opening day for me, and the first one without Bob Uecker. So I did my best to find a jacket in my closet that would be something he would wear. And by the way, you can buy this in our retail store. I knew it would sink in today, and it's sinking in. Anyway, we'll be doing a number of things for you throughout the season, including a moment of silence today. And I know everybody here really misses him, as me and my family do. With that, I don't have any other, I'm open for questions as always.
We have microphones on either side. So, questions? Start in the far back.
Do you have a favorite opening day memory with Uecker?
Oh my gosh. Years ago, we would go through the parking lot on one of those golf carts and see fans who were tailgating before noon. And he was always engaged with every group. And I have that image of him today. And that was probably, 15, 20 years ago. Otherwise, he always had a smile and was warm towards everyone. I think I said when he passed away, I talked with the media about it when he first met my family. He asked my son, Dan, who's now 37, by the way, what he was studying in school. And Dan was in high school. He said Spanish. Bob said, I speak Spanish. That was a ballo and a striko, So, and obviously with, my dad sung the national anthem for 10 years. He and Uke were in a movie together, actually. It was sort of a spoof, I think maybe Mel Brooks, between Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct. And I think it was called Fatal Instinct. And when we used to do we still do, we do the investor-sponsored dinners in spring training. Joe and Uke used to sit in the back and share stories and have a couple drinks themselves. And so my dad, I think we just hit the 10th anniversary of his passing. So sort of a reminder that our game is timeless, but we're all here for a limited time.
I guess you have Wood Warrior Project rep and an ALS Association rep throwing out the first pitches. Just what did those kind of causes kind of mean to Bob, and just what did it mean, why y'all decided to have those particular causes represented today in the first?
So, I'd mentioned too with Uecker, he endowed, which Commissioner Seelig and I supported a research center for cancer at Freighter to endow a chair in anesthesiology. And I'm not sure Uecker finished high school. And now here he is, he took the lead on wanting to endow cancer research. And then obviously the causes we're talking about today that, he always followed through and quietly. He didn't, he made all sorts of appearances, even to the end for some of the causes where they'd have him come out to play golf. And to his doctor's dismay, you could always go out and play, and you hit 90 and you're hitting golf balls, you can get dehydrated. He still went out and hit the golf balls. He also kept doing the grass, he kept doing his yard work. Judy called me once, said, "How's Uecker?" And she said, they had to get him hydrated because he spent 3.5 hours working in his yard. I mean, that's, to the end is true Wisconsin, true, just as genuine as it could be. Never, no arrogance, as humble as could be for everything, who he was and what he accomplished.
That's Mark Attanasio, the Brewers owner. Let's do this. We'll cut away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, and we'll listen to the second half of this. Obviously, a lot of thoughts and memories of Bob Uecker here on this opening day, and the ceremonies beginning over at American Family Field as well. Brewers baseball first pitch about a half an hour away. Brewers taking on the Kansas City Royals at American Family Field. Hopefully the Brewers get a win today, knock on wood, because after all this said and done, it's about winning baseball games, and the Brewers right now 0-3 on this very young season. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show live down here at Stenny, second and National Walker's Point on this opening day, coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We're live. We're at Stenny, Second and National, Walker's Point. The bus is loading up. They've got more fans going over to American Family Field, about a half an hour away from first pitch, or a little bit less than that. And the Brewers are going to get underway with the Kansas City Royals. Ceremonies are getting underway at AmFam Field now as well. A lot of remembrances for Bob Uecker. Speaking of that, the Brewers owner, Mark Attanasio, I wanted to pick up where we left off. Speaking to the media, this is the Brewers owner, Mark Attanasio.
I was just, I do a poor imitation. My sons are much better imitating, but he said, we'll be all right, boss. We're okay. And we will be. You know, last year, we forget the Yankees came here and at almost the same, I think we had the run differential was the same, maybe one more extra run this year. You know, they ended up winning 94 games. We end up winning 93. And, so I think we'll be okay. Besides what you could say, and he was always upbeat, and he never lost that optimistic view of life. But I think we're all right.
After talking with a lot of the players in Murph today, it just seems a little different. What's today been like for you not having Bob around?
So every year, besides to the question of going through the parking lot, we go through the parking lot on golf cart. We'd come and do a spot for TMJ on radio and stand side by side. And, it was easy for me because I just sit there and laugh for most of the, Bob came up with these extemporaneous comments and jokes to their questions. And I knew it would sink in. It was hard. This was so out of body, and even in spring training, he wasn't always there at the opening of spring training. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. He always insisted on announcing. So you don't have to do the radio for, a game that after the third inning, we're going to be most of the players that we don't even, know who they are yet. And he would insist on that. It was his job and he would do the radio. But I knew it would sink in today, and it was hard to do the spot with Greg and TMJ, and I was a little spaced out when I did it. So that's it's going to be hard to go up. I always went up in the seventh inning opening day, no matter what was going on in the game. Like Debbie, my wife, would come in and say, "Oh, you look a little tight. It will be all right." He never. And by the way, he knew he had the perfect spot to view the games there, and having caught so many games, and I think he told me he broadcast over 11,000 games. He knew we were in trouble sometimes where the game was going, but he would never let on. But he knew.
Anything else?
Sorry to change the subject here. I did this, changed it away to baseball with Murph too. But Mark, there is a report, I think it was in USA Today a couple days ago, about the commissioner role whenever that comes open in 4 or 5 years or whatnot. And that a couple of other owners had mentioned to them that they would be interested in you potentially taking that role. That's down the road a bit, but what would your thoughts be on that step?
You know, I got a number of people sent me that tweet from Bob Nightingale, and I was tempted to call Bob and say, well, who is telling you this? Because I haven't had any conversations of the sort. My family and I love owning the team. It's a generational asset for us. You'll see today, I don't know if some years we bring folks out to the field. We'll have 40 family members here. So I just love what I'm doing here.
Have you had that thought? Any conversations about it?
Never had a conversation. I was interviewed, you know, in 2013 when they were going through a process where, you know, Rob was clearly the right choice. And I remember I said to the committee, you know, I have no intention of selling the team. Well, you had to interview anyway. So I showed up for the meeting, and one of the first questions was, well, you know, why do you think you can do this job and not sell the team? I said, well, I didn't say that. I said that, you know, I would not sell the team. And, you know, well, don't you think it's a conflict? I said, yeah, I think it's a conflict. But you will ask me to come in. I didn't, you know, I didn't volunteer. You know, I love baseball, would do anything for baseball. Rob's been, you know, entrusted me with a lot of responsibility in various committees, and I take that seriously. I think he's, you know, he's been extremely thoughtful commissioner, and, you know, the rules changes that he put forward really have changed the game. And, you know, the sport, I saw Rob before opening day in Yankee Stadium. So not only do we have over 70 million fans come to our games, you've got, he said 50 million in Japan. And I think there's 30 million fans who go to minor league games. So all this notion that baseball is a dying sport is just, I don't know where that comes from. It's the most watched live sport. I can't count for, you know, global soccer. Those are different leagues, so that's different. And I guess in India, a lot of folks tune into the IPL games, but you know, baseball is thriving.
Anything else?
Mark, last year you debuted the new scoreboard. Is there something new at the ballpark this year you want to talk about, you're excited about? And, you know, when you think of the Packers and Titletown or the Bucks and Deer District, is there an extra revenue stream like that out there you can think for the Brewers?
I told Rick if I got a tough business, get to him, but before I duck, you know, we have looked now for 20 seasons at different ways for looking at adjacent opportunities, understanding that our first goal was to make sure we are addressing facilities where the players play. So, you know, we obviously have the stadium finance here, but before that, we put a lot of capital into this, what was a new ballpark as obviously the stadium district. We have a state-of-the-art facility in Maryvale in Arizona. We have a state-of-the-art facility in the Dominican Republic. So we started focusing our resources there. We have a couple of things we're looking at, you know, adjacent to this. And, you know, I think and we'd be mindful of that for sure, because, you know, the more revenues we can drive, the more money we can put into payroll here. But we're going to be cautious. Not every one of the ballpark villages has worked out. And so we'll be, you know, cautious in what we do. Do you want to add anything to that, Rick?
Very well.
Glad I didn't duck it then.
Hey, Mark, you guys had a pretty quiet offseason in terms of free agency and your payroll went up, but just slightly. I guess I'm curious how you feel about the team now that you see it as a finished product. And do you feel like, you know, certainly the top end, but in general, teams are capable of moving beyond where the Brewers are because the Brewers aren't able to compete with some of the higher end payrolls in the National League?
Yeah, so there's, you know, as a asymmetry in Major League payrolls, which is there's been a lot written about that. We always are trying to compete, and we will compete whatever the asymmetry is. And there's a method to what we're doing that we're going to continue to try to improve, but follow. The system is such that there's inflation built into arbitration, and we will continue to try to keep every player that we have for as long as we can. I was saying earlier, when we signed Jackson Churio, we not only have 8 years with him, but we have 2 option years, so our fans can get invested in him as a player for 10 years. Way more than not, we've kept players through their arbitration year and just got a comp pick for them, as what we did with Willie Adames. I think that we would. I think we would be better as a sport if every fan in every city felt that they could compete every year. But I can say in this city we're going to compete every year.
There you go. That's Mark Attanasio talking to the media. Let's do this. We'll step away and we'll take a quick break. Get to the top of the hour. Brewers baseball coming up here in about 15 minutes. But stay tuned. We still got another hour of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, it's the home opener for the Brewers today. Going to face off against the Royals this afternoon at American Family Field. They will do so down another starting pitcher. Team placed Aaron Savale on the 15-day injured list with a strained hamstring after he left his start yesterday in New York after just 3 innings. They recalled Brett Anderson from AAA to take his spot on the roster. Savale, just the latest starter to be unavailable. It's a list that includes Jose Quintana, Aaron Ashby, Tobias Myers, D.L. Hall, Brandon Woodruff, and Robert Gasser. It means they are counting on a guy like Elvin Rodriguez, who will get the ball today against the Royals. Manager Pat Murphy said they're hoping for 80 pitches from him today. Murphy added that they're in a real decimated spot right now and have another big challenge in the Royals coming in. Milwaukee's been outscored 36-14 in their first 3 games, giving up 15 home runs. Going to be the Brewers and Royals coming up. First pitch is at 1:10.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers are moving Elton Jenkins to center. GM Brian Gutekunst confirmed that this morning at the NFL's owners' meetings. It's possible because of the signing of Aaron Banks to play guard. Gutekunst said he believes Jenkins can be an all-pro at center. Also said that they're still working through the Jair Alexander situation. He didn't rule out him playing for the team in 2025, but said they hope to have a resolution before the draft coming up at the end of April. After getting a week off for spring break, the Badgers can be back on the field tomorrow morning for spring ball. And the Bucks off today after getting blown out by Atlanta last night. They'll host the Suns on Tuesday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Perrin.
Welcome back. We are glad you are with us. We are broadcasting live. We're at Stenny, Second and National, Walker's Point, and the Brewers getting ready as they are now on the field. The national anthem has been sung. The tributes to Bob Uecker have taken place, and the Brewers are getting ready for baseball. We're about 10 minutes away from baseball. Good to see Brian Anderson back in the booth, too. Brian Anderson, after coming off of the NCAA March Madness run and doing broadcasts and ball games, which is fantastic, but good to see BA back in the broadcast booth alongside Bill Schroeder today. So in that sense, everything seems right. The field is being prepped. The players are getting ready to take the field. And thus we should have baseball coming up here shortly. So all of that going on, some interesting things from Mark Attanasio. And I know there was the discussion about him possibly in a few years taking over for Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, which on one hand, you've got a small market owner that knows the plight of small markets and maybe at this point in time is able to take the reins in some way, shape, or form and effort forward a way to kind of level the playing field a little bit more than it is right now, as opposed to, say, a team like the Dodgers, who spent in the offseason close to $400 million, where the Brewers couldn't even begin to think about something like that. And for those that want to see Mark sell the team, it would force him to sell the team, because at that point in time, you can't be an owner and a commissioner as well, because the commissioner works for the owners. So you wouldn't be able to do that. That being said, it would certainly mean that Mark is going to be around a while. He's not going to sell the team anytime soon. For those that want to say, you've got to do something about this. I think it is what it is. The Brewers, you're going to have to look and figure out ways to get better. And at some point, you're going to have to open the purse strings. And I do respect what Chuck Freimund said earlier in the fact that have the Brewers, has Mark Attanasio, earned the fandemonium of the fans. When you look at the cutting back of payroll over the last few years, and this is a team that's been, you've had 2.5 million fans consistently going through the turnstiles and supporting this team in every way, shape, or form. Have they done enough to earn your fandemonium? And I think it's a fair question. I mean, I just enjoy Brewers baseball, and I think a lot of us do, and not a lot of us have high hopes, and that you dare to dream that at some point, the Brewers are able to get over that hump and find themselves in a World Series. But I do look at all of this and think, is there enough? Can he do more? Could he do more? And my answer to that is yes. He could do more. When you see the different things come out, like Forbes just recently said, here's the teams that made money, here's the teams that lost money, and the Brewers, they made $24 million. Now the Mets, they've got an owner that is beyond a billionaire who lost $257 million last year, but he can easily, I shouldn't say easily, I mean, who am I to say what he can and can't afford, but with the kind of money that he's worth, he can easily, at least seemingly, afford to lose that kind of money, where the Brewers can't. But I don't have a problem saying that I was kind of hoping the Brewers would come closer to breaking even than making $24 to $25 million, because that certainly could be put back into payroll, in which you could shore up, say, third base, where you could shore up, say, a spot in the starting rotation. And so in that sense, yeah, I'm a little bit upset that the Brewers didn't do more this offseason to shore up some of the things, some of the holes that we knew they had coming into this season. And, God, if this thing goes wrong and stays wrong and stays south of wins for the next few weeks, I'm sure the cries are going to be extremely loud for Mark Attanasio and what he has done or hasn't done, maybe more so than anything, this offseason. So now we just kind of wait and see what the Brewers are able to do. Because I think on one hand, we also, as Brewers fans, we very much revel in the fact that we've been kind of looked at as the little engine that could and the little engine that wasn't supposed to do anything. And yet the Brewers are still, for the most part, playing winning baseball and have been winning in the division for quite some time and been able to get to the postseason when other teams around them have not, such as the Cardinals and such as the Cubs. So it's kind of a fine line as to where your emotions should or shouldn't be. But when you see certain things ahead of you where you think all you need to do is shore up a couple of holes and you're going to be right back to where it's not about one player winning it for you. It's about filling enough holes that you have more of a legitimate shot at winning. And did the Brewers do enough this offseason to fill those holes? And I think in many people's minds, they did not. In many people's minds, they did not. And when you see, a guy like Corbin Burns, pitching for $10 million and for last year, and what it might or might not have cost you, and then going back to the Hader trade and screwing everything up that year in the clubhouse and just the overall feel, and talking to Brandon Woodruff about that after the fact, saying it felt like management gave up on us for money. That's a disappointing thing. That's a real disappointing thing. So I get where some fans are in their, kind of raised eye, hopeful optimism, but there's also fans that are also feeling like, hey, you kind of lied to us. You said that you were going to continue to invest in the team. You were going to continue to put money back into the ball club. and you haven't done just enough to at least ensure fans of, barring injury, getting back to the postseason and maybe going a little bit further than what they did the year prior. Now, the one thing you can't count on is the injuries that this team has certainly had. Savale now going down, so now he is on the injury report as well. So you still are talking about Aaron Ashby, Savale, Robert Gasser, DL Hall, Tobias Myers, and Brandon Woodruff. Now, the good part about all of this is they all have the possibility of coming back in the next month and a half. So if you can just stick around and play 500 ball, your pitching staff could come back intact and then some. If you're able to kind of slowly bring everybody back and you don't sustain more injuries. You're a little bit thin on the infield. We all understand that. But again, you get rid of a home run guy like Willie Adames, 34 home runs and 100-plus RBIs, and you don't replace him with anybody. And that's something that, a lot of fans are kind of left scratching their heads over. You didn't really do much to your pitching staff as far as the addition goes, short of bringing in, a guy like, Quintana that, for the most part, is throwing 91 miles an hour and has to rely on his breaking stuff and his off-speed stuff outside of the zone for guys to go fishing and swing at. You didn't bring any guarantees, or you didn't bring anybody that would be on the cusp of guarantees, we'll say, to better this team. And so for those of you that are emailing and texting and such, and James, who just texted me and said, Mark Attanasio always has an excuse not to spend money. When are we going to find an owner that's actually going to do something? You have a right to be upset. So, and again, there's nothing that owners can claim about losing or making money until they open their books, something that they have refused to do for a long, long time. And that has been one of the major sticking points. As much as the Players Association has been, that's been one of the major sticking points for the players not accepting any sort of a salary cap because the owners refuse to open their books. And that's been part of it. Jay Krebs says anybody who thinks Mark is a bad owner is a moron. He's a top 10 owner of clubs. Ownership ran the Brewers the way they would be in the past. They placed that every year. Remember, life without Mark, we sucked. Jay Krebs, I agree with that. He's been a good owner. No, I don't think anybody's saying he's a bad owner. I think what people are saying is that why can't you do that extra? Why can't you go that extra player? Why didn't you spend a little bit extra money and keep this guy or that guy, or bring somebody else into the organization that wasn't past their prime, such as a Quintana, such as a Rhys Hoskins? The Brewers are always left to try to find lightning in a bottle. And as a Brewers fan, you feel like you're always going to be butting your head against the ceiling because you're never going to be able to crash through it, because they're not going to go out and get the extra guy. Even though, go back. Look, here's the perfect example, Jay Krebs. The year that they got rid of Josh Hader, remember what Mark Attanasio said? He said in an interview twice, it's not about the money. As a matter of fact, we're in on the Juan Soto sweepstakes. So it's not about the money. So not only did they not get Soto because they weren't going to spend more money, they actually cut Josh Hader and traded him away for a bag of baseballs because it was about the money. That's when Mark lost face. He's been a good owner. He's kept people in the stands. They've done everything they need to do to keep that park up to date. They've done a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. Those should not be discounted. But at that point in time, in that moment, is when he lost face. Because until that point, I had been a huge advocate of Mark Attanasio and praised Mark Attanasio for the job that he has done. The CC Sabathia deal, going forward in certain periods of time. And they didn't get over the hump, but they did things that injected belief and optimism, not only in the fan base, but inside that clubhouse as well. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, feel free to go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. Mike writes, hey, guys, love listening to the opening day broadcast. It looked like a lot of fun at Stenny's on the live stream. I'm sure you guys have had the wings. What's the favorite food down there besides wings? Mike, a non-baseball question. God, they've got a really good jalapeno grilled cheese. Their burgers, the mushroom and Swiss burger, I love. I'll tell you this, their French fries are awesome. I don't usually go on and on about French fries, but their French fries are awesome. The garlic cheese bread I get. I can go on and on about many different things down here. So, but appreciate it. I don't want to go on too much, but appreciate the question. So thank you very much. This one is from Jimmy. Jimmy says, hey, guys, I don't fault Mark Attanasio for not spending more money. I fault him for not filling the holes. sometimes you do have to spend a little bit more money. He doesn't have to go over after the top guys that are going to cost you $250 million, but at least be in the conversation for some of these lesser players that can still help you. Yes, in free agency, you're going to have to overpay for a player. They are petrified of overpaying for any player in Major League Baseball. They're always trying to find the bargain deal. Bargains are only bargains if they work out. Too many times they don't. How many times have we seen the likes of a Jackie Bradley Jr. come into the system only to fail miserably and then to be cut the very next year because they don't want to pay him to try to give him another shot at it? But remember, the Colton Wong deal panned out, right? They paid Colton Wong, and for a year, Colton Wong was really good and helped this team win some baseball games. And I give him credit for that because that was a year coming out of COVID when they probably should have cut payroll, and they didn't. They brought in Jackie Bradley Jr. They brought in Colton Wong. They wanted to solidify this team because they felt they could make a little bit of a run at it. It's when you have the talent and the wins and they don't do the extra something, that's when fans get frustrated. But I agree with you. Look, there's been a lot of good. There's been a lot of good, and you don't want to ignore that. And I don't want to walk right down the middle of the street on this, but you do have to take the good with the bad. You can't just look at the negative and say, well, everything sucks and you got to sell the team. You can't do that because you could end up with worse ownership. They're screaming about it in Kansas City. They're screaming about it in Pittsburgh. They're screaming about it in Miami. They're screaming about it in Cincinnati. This was the first time Castellini in Cincinnati has really put any money out there to bring in a couple of free agents and bring in a real manager in Terry Francona. So they finally spent a little bit of money. But you can't. There's a lot of other. Look at what they've been doing in Oakland for so many years. They've basically been robbing Major League Baseball because they weren't spending any money either. So I'm not going to ignore all the good that has been done by Mark Attanasio. You just wish there was another level to this, not necessarily to go to $200 million in payroll, but if you can get it to 130 from 110, 115, that's $25 million. Imagine what you could get with that for this team to help to solidify some of the holes that they had in the offseason, right? And like every team in Major League Baseball now they're waiting until the extreme end of the offseason, going almost into spring training now before they do anything, which is a little bit frustrating as well. 877-867-1670. When we come back, Brian Gutekunst spoke and has some interesting things to say at the owners' meetings. And as the Packers make a few headlines, not only with Brian Gutekunst speaking today, talking about Elton Jenkins, talking about Jair Alexander, but also as they gain a little bit more momentum for the tush push or the anti-tush push as well. We're going to hear from all of that when we come back. So don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show broadcasting live down here at Stenny's, 2nd and National in Walker's Point. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Burn Pit Barbecue. Go to burnpitbbq.com. That is burnpitbbq.com for the sauces, the hot sauces, and the rubs. All fine for all your grilling needs, based right here in the state of Wisconsin. Veteran-owned here in the state of Wisconsin as well. Again, go to burnpitbbq.com. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Being a Pella consultant means helping people build their dreams.
For Jenna, helping others find joy is so rewarding. It's why we love to do what we do.
I enjoy simplifying the process for the customer, taking the time to listen and finding the right solution.
Randy understands that everyone's situation is different, so we don't just slap together cookie cutter solutions.
Customers really appreciate just how prepared we are. All the samples, the videos, pictures.
Jake arrives at your free in-home consultation with pre-prepared materials to fully envision your dream Pella build.
We're with you from start to finish. You literally have a friend from beginning to end and beyond with your project.
Whether you're working with Ryan or another Pella consultant, we don't go away after the sale. We're ready with anything you may need before, during, and after installation. And right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get 0% interest up to 72 months. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply in 3/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Broadcasting live here at Stenny, second to National Walker's Point. The crowd has certainly thinned down. As all the Brewers fans, I shouldn't say all, there's probably, I don't know, about 75 people in the front and the back of this place that are still here to watch Brewers baseball. As the Brewers early on have, in the top of the first, it's already a couple of men on and a 3-2 count into this contest with nobody out. But that being said, everybody headed over to the ballpark, which is great. We had a great crowd down here a little bit earlier today. It's been fantastic. It's been a lot of fun. And we heard from both Pat Murphy and Mark Attanasio as they both spoke at length pre-game about numerous things, from everything from competitive balance to Bob Uecker to what have you. So many different things discussed. Nicholas says, Bill, the only contrary point I can make is all those teams you mentioned have won a World Series in the last 50 years. At the end of the day, that's the goal. Simple as that. Why play the game? I completely agree. But the teams that have a lot of money have won far more. And by the way, here's a note for you. Over the last, I think it was 20 years is what the statistic just came out was. And I might be a little bit off in the years. No team in Major League Baseball in the bottom half of payroll has advanced to a World Series. Say it again. No team in the bottom half of payroll per year has advanced to a World Series. At least that was or like one or two have in the last 25 or 30 years or something to that extent. It was a statistic that came out on opening day that I meant to write down and I didn't stupidly. But it was a startling statistic that I did not realize. I've seen wild card teams that have gone on and won World Series, but they're not in the lower half of Major League Baseball when it comes to total overall salary. So there you go. Kenny Mack, Trey Hendrickson still ain't been signed. Well, he's still got another year in his contract, Kenny Mack. He's still property of Cincinnati. They just haven't worked out a trade deal. They told him to go make a trade deal. They have not signed him to a long-term deal, but he's still got another year left on his deal with Cincinnati. Just an FYI. So he's not a free agent. So there you go. Hey, speaking of football, our guy, Brian Gutekunst, at the owners' meetings, talking to the media, some interesting stuff. He talks about Jair. He talks about the movement of Elton Jenkins moving down to the center position officially. He talks a little bit more about, football in general. Take a listen to the things that he had to say. This is Brian Gutekunst.
Literally can't have. Seriously. That's what they told me. So you have to move a little bit. There you go.
is there a bar over there? We're just go over there. Just trying to keep our jobs. Everybody doing good? Yeah. Good. Well done.
Brian, looking quickly at Nate Hobbs, just what kind of stood out to you about him, and just what do you think he kind of brings defensively to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, we've kind of had our eye on Nate for a couple of years now. Richmond Williams, coach, does a great job. He's been pushing him. You know, we just really thought he's a really versatile, all-around corner, can do everything. We really like his ability to play on the outside, which he hasn't done a ton of. But then the ability to move him inside and match different receivers, and just his play style is one of the things that stood out to all of us. Really, really excited to see what he's going to do for us this year.
Is the plan to move Elvin to center? Seems obviously a lot of Banks has been at left guard in San Francisco.
Yeah, no, we've had plenty of conversations with Elvin leading up to it, and obviously he played center in college. We feel he's got a chance to win All-Pro center. You guys, we've talked about a lot how versatility plays into our offensive line and having guys that can move in different spots. And Elvin's one of those guys who can play all 5 spots. So he's a luxury, but I think I'm excited to see what he can do.
Brian, when it was a couple of years ago when you did that contract, I remember at the time it was going to be adaptable. He'd be paid if he was a tackle, paid if he was a guard. They've come to you and asked for any adjustments to, maybe do something contractual wise now that he's going to make the move.
Yeah, I would never talk about any conversations we have with any of our players getting contracts and things like that. But obviously, he's one of the higher paid guys in the league for a reason. He's a really good player. And, I think moving to center for him is something he always kind of thought about in his career. So we're excited to see what he can do.
So they didn't fight back or push back or anything there.
Brian, what's the plan for Jair Alexander in your roster this season? What's the plan for Jair Alexander?
I think we're still working through that. Obviously, a very, very good player for us, and we have some time here to kind of figure that out and see what's best for him and for the organization.
Is there a possibility that he plays for you in 2025?
It could be a possibility, absolutely. But again, I think we're in the middle of that right now.
Brian, do you think whatever way you go with that, it'll be resolved by the draft time?
I think that would be nice, but I don't think you can say that for sure. But I think that would be helpful.
Is extending Zach Tom a priority this offseason?
I think that certainly we'll get into those discussions probably later in the summer and with those players that are going to be there fourth year.
What does Rasheed Walker still need to show you to be worth extending there?
Oh, I think she's done a lot of really, really good things for you. I don't necessarily needs to show me anything. I think, like anything, you got to continue to play at a high level. We have a lot of competition there. Not just at his spot, but all across the offensive line. And, we got guys like Jordan Morgan who I think are going to really emerge. So it'll be good to see that competition, and we'll be better for it.
Are you going to play? Is Morgan going to get a shot at left tackle this year?
Yeah, I think it's just like last year. He'll take reps in multiple spots, but he'll certainly get a shot there.
With Aaron Banks coming in now at left guard, what did you like about him? What do you think as far, now with Elvin being at center, how does he sit there?
Yeah, obviously, a really large man that can do all the things that Matt asked those guys to do in our scheme as far as his ability to get off the ball quickly, get out of space, really run. This isn't a 295-pound man. This is a 130-pound man. So his ability to play physical in the run game and anchor down in the basketball is something that really he's played at a high level for a few years now. He's really got like that really defining his career.
Sounds like people have raved about his blocking ability. Do you think with all moving Elton and all that, do you think you're a better blocking unit? And can that be even a bigger threat?
Yeah, certainly we have the potential to be. At the same time, you guys, those 5 guys got to work in concert, and there's a lot of work that has to be done before you ever get to that point. So every year is a different year. These guys got to put in the work and really come together as a unit. But I think we have the potential to do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected you guys to trade for everybody and sign a lot of top people when you made the urgency comment. What was kind of your approach to free agency, and did you maybe have some bigger things in place that you didn't get done, or how would you categorize how you guys approached that period?
Yeah, I mean, I think the urgency comment is really more for our team, our organization, understanding what the expectations are. At the same time, for us, I think it was very urgent.
We went after a couple top targets. We were able to acquire them. Football team. Urgency across the board. I think it's for our players, it's for our organization. Just how we're going to approach them.
Along those lines, in the past, when you had money and needs, you spent. This year, not saying you didn't.
I think we're 10th in the league in spending.
But this year with free agency, you signed a couple guys, but if you'd wanted to, you could have done more. You had the captain to do more. There were all sorts of pass rushes of different stripes and prices available. What made you decide to do it the way you did it?
Well, I think we every free agent class is different. You have to be honest with yourselves about what it is. You can't just go chasing after things and trying to create stuff. We very much felt that kind of the targets that we targeted were the ones worth targeting. And again, I think that we were 10th in the league in free agency spending this offseason, something like that. And so I thought we were very aggressive. We were able to acquire guys pretty early in the process. But every year is unique with the free agency class, and I think it's just a matter of how you evaluate that.
When you say 10th in spending, I hadn't seen that number. Is that just cash spent this year, or is that average contract? Or
I think it's cash. Yeah.
Brian,
It changes daily because it's still going on.
Right.
with Cole Hardman, you said at the combine you wanted multiple options to return kicks. Do you see him as a guy that can maybe take some of that burden off Keyshawn if he's playing outside corner?
I do, absolutely. I think both as a punt return. He's a little bit more experienced in the punt return game, but he can do both. He obviously adds an element of speed over the football team. So it's going to be a big game. So he's got a little bit of injuries along the way, but if he's healthy, he's certainly a tackle player. Brian, what's been your involvement personally from the organization standpoint in the tush push thing? Where you? Yeah, it really wasn't a huge part of drafting the proposal or anything like that, but I'm very much in support of it. I think, certainly the medical professionals at the league have high concerns about putting players in positions that could catastrophic injuries. I think this is something that needs to be discussed and proactively rather than reactively. Is the Tucker Craft play, would that fall into the same category though, or is that somehow? Yeah, it's really any play where a player is getting pushed from behind initially like that. So that play was successful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we owe it to our players. It's not about success; it's about health and safety.
Brian, I know you don't like to
there
talk
you go.
about
Let's do
players.
this. We'll take a break. We'll come back and discuss a little bit. He talked about, obviously, Elton Jenkins moving into center. He talked about the real possibility that, Jair could still end up on this ball club, which, again, ifs and buts and candy and nuts, we'd all have a great Christmas, but he would have to stay healthy for this secondary to be a top-notch secondary, the way everybody would hope it would be, and there's no guarantee of that because we know what his history has been. Obviously, he talks about the tush push, and they haven't really gotten all the facts together when it comes to player safety, but certainly when you're talking about a lot of what I was discussing a little bit earlier about the ability of a couple of guys 220 pounds or more, so you're talking about 460 pounds behind a 220-pound quarterback. So then you're talking, 680 pounds plus a 300-pound offensive lineman. You're talking about 900 pounds coming at a nose tackle. And you are not allowed to push the nose tackle or jump over the back of a nose tackle for leverage. It almost becomes an impossible play. And that's part of the problem that they're talking about, the unfair advantage in all of this. And I get it. We always say just stop it, but the rules negate the ability to kind of stop it successfully or continuously via the defensive side of the football. So that's where the Packers are coming from. You can still do the quarterback sneak. They just don't want to have two guys, a total of 460 to 500 pounds, pushing behind him with the inability for the defenders to stack the line in that same facet and get the push back. So that's where you kind of understand all of this. By the way, the Brewers already down 3-0, and they have one out and two outs and nobody on in the bottom of the first. So I know the audio on Brian Gutekunst was a little bit rough. It was some guys basically standing outside of the hotel where the owners' meetings are taking place, and it wasn't the greatest, but at least you got a sense of it if you were really kind of able to hear it. So apologize for not great sound quality, but Brian Gutekunst did have some interesting things to say there, and hopefully you were able to catch some of it. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. This portion of the program Brought to you by our friends and big supporters this season in our motorcycle ride of Suburban Motors. Suburban Harley-Davidson. If you were looking, I saw over the weekend, they sold about 7 or 8 Harleys, man. They were cranking them out big time. A lot of people picking up new Harley-Davidson specifically after Friday and the beautiful weather that we had. And yes, for those who were wondering, I did get out and ride on Friday. Put about 60 to 80 miles on the motorcycle, as a matter of fact. It was great just to get out and get a little wind therapy. That's our friends at Suburban Motors. And all you got to do is check them out at suburbanharley.com. That is suburbanharley.com. Call Todd. He's the GM over there. 262-242-2464. Look online, find the inventory, get a hold of them, get a deal going. 262-242-2464. And they are big supporters of this year's upcoming Big Unit Poker Run, Sunday of Labor Day weekend that benefits Big Unit Foundation. We cannot wait. Thanks to our friends at Suburban Motors and Suburban Harley-Davidson. More of the Bill Michaels Show live here at Stenny's. Second and National and Walker's Point. Brewers wrapping up the first inning, still down 3-0 early on to the Kansas City Royals. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
This portion of the Bill Michaels Show brought to you by our friends at the Water Doctors. The best water softening system out there, that's the Connecticut water softening system. And I've had it in my house for over 20 years. Absolutely swear by it. I've had others, so I do have some things to compare it to. And Connecticut, easily, by far, the absolute best. And the company to work with is the Water Doctors. You can call them 262-549-7733. And the reason why is because they are big in giving back to the community, and we love working with local businesses and local owners and those that give back and those that support, obviously, our missions with Big Unit Foundation and those giving back to military members, veterans, their families, and first responders and such. So thanks to our friends at the Water Doctors, but absolutely, positively, the best water softening system out there. All you got to do is call anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, 262-549-7733, 262-549-7733. That is the Water Doctors. So here's one thing for you. When we were talking about payroll before, this is what I wanted to get to. And I want to be clear on this. Since 1995, since 1995, I found the statistic. Only two teams, in the bottom half of payroll have won the World Series. The 2002 Angels and the 2003 Florida Marlins. As we break it down, Kansas City did win it in 2015, but similar to the Astros of 2017, the Royals made midseason trades that then put them into the top half of payroll by the end of the season. Houston, while they won the World Series in 2017, they made midseason trades that put them into the top half of payroll by the end of the season. The Marlins in 2003, also a team with lower payroll, the Marlins defied expectations. They won the World Series. The Angels, they were a surprise champion. Nobody saw coming with a relatively low payroll compared to other teams in Major League Baseball. But only two teams since 1995 have been in the lower half of all of payroll in Major League Baseball. There's 30 teams, so they were 16th or lower that have actually won a World Series. That's it. And the other teams that had low payroll going into the season that ended up winning, such as the Astros and the Royals, they made trades that put them over the 15-plus mark in Major League Baseball. So there you go. So it's longer than 20 years, to be perfectly honest with you. It's going on 30 years. In the last 30 years, only two teams in the lower half of baseball's payroll have won a World Series. That's it. That's why there's such a stark distance between the haves and the have-nots. We've seen wild card teams, but those wild card teams, such as Washington, such as St. Louis at the time, those teams already were in the upper half of Major League Baseball's payroll. So we understand that. It's not about wild card teams. It's about teams in the lower half of Major League Baseball payroll that had the capability of winning. So Steven says, remember when they would always say, why not us? That's why not us. In the meantime, Los says it's becoming clear the Brewers pitchers clearly do not have good enough stuff to compete against big league hitters, as the Brewers are right now down 4-0 in this contest. They are now coming to the plate. But the Brewers, bottom of the second, just getting underway and already down 4-0. So there you go. Brett says, thanks for the information. So I knew I saw that, and I wanted to get it right because I wasn't 100% correct in what I was stating, and I wasn't completely clear in what I was stating. So I wanted to make sure I at least found that statistic, and I went back and found it. So there you go. That's it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Brad in Sturgeon Bay said, what's Johnny Resnick like in real life? He seems relatively down there. He's, and for those that don't know, he's a lead singer of the Goo Goo Dolls. A little aloof, kind of a weird dude, for lack of a better term. Nice guy. I can't, there's nothing to complain about, but it was just aloof and kind of what you would expect, so it wasn't like he was some overwhelmingly great guy, he was just aloof and just kind of goofy, for lack of a better term. Let's see here. Ryan of Manitowoc said, if the Brewers want to make a World Series in Major League Baseball, they'll still have to make a hard salary cap until the Brewers will be making the playoffs, and that's it. And also see other players that are either brought through the system or they're traded, like Sabathia leaves for bigger money. I compare it to the Packers. They would have never made a Super Bowl or playoffs without a salary cap if I gave the Packers a chance to sign free agents like Reggie and then trade for Charles Woodson. Absolutely, Ryan. You can do that because everybody has to play under the same rules in the NFL. The teams themselves can make money, but the salary cap is the same for everybody. Now, even if Major League Baseball said, we're going to make a salary cap of $230 million or $250 million, okay? The Brewers still aren't going to get to that point. But if the revenue share were increased, like the teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers and such, if they were able to make that money off of their own television networks, well, then the owners would obviously gain more money. But then that money, a certain amount of money made, then do they share that with the rest of Major League Baseball? How would they go about that revenue share that's going to keep every team in Major League Baseball viable? You know what I mean? And here's the problem. One is the owners won't open their books to let everybody know what they did and didn't make. That's the first problem. The second problem is you got greedy owners. Owners that have said, hey, I've made my money. You go make yours. I've already done my part. We're already paying you an amount of money. Much like when Pittsburgh was, so when that revenue share was supposed to be spent on player payroll, increasing scouting departments and such, and it was supposed to be spent actually on the team, they were paying off, bills due at PNC Park. And they got into trouble for that. Same thing with the Miami Marlins at one point. So some of the owners in Major League Baseball, they really don't give two damns about the small markets. Even though they need the small markets, they don't care because they made their money. They don't want to share that money. The reason billionaires become billionaires is because they get greedy. They want to make money. That's what they do. And they don't. But what they're doing in Major League Baseball, at least in my opinion, is kind of cutting off their nose to spite their face. They're going to keep the money, but what they don't see is beyond the tip of their nose, saying that is it good for Major League Baseball as a whole? Will it draw more eyes if you see a salary cap and good players being scattered sporadically around teams like the Brewers and the Royals and the Pirates and the Marlins and the Reds and the A's, and you can go through the laundry list of teams that are small market teams. Now there also has to be a floor. Owners have to spend a certain amount of money to get above the floor, and certain owners aren't even doing that at this point. But I agree with you. I'd love to see a salary cap in Major League Baseball. Out of the 920, Bill, love the show. I'm from Green Bay. They're going to be in Phoenix until the end of April. Can I follow the games on any of the iHeart stations or others? Thank you. That's Chet. Chet, you would have to follow the games out there, basically on the MLB Network. You'd probably have to pay for that app. Out-of-market games you'd probably have to pay for on the MLB Network. Otherwise, as far as listening to games, the flagship station is WTMJ in Milwaukee, but I don't think they even broadcast the games on the internet. Not that I know of, to be honest with you. Going back to the days that I worked there, we weren't allowed because Major League Baseball controls those broadcasts, So, I would think it's the MLB Network app. Either that or if you got Sirius XM radio. Sirius XM gives you Major League Baseball games. If you buy the Sirius XM sports package, it's like $70 a month or 75 or $100 a year or something goofy like that. Because I get that. I keep that in my car. But you can also buy one of the small XM radios, and you can either download the app and put it on your phone, or you can download or you can get one of the small XM radios and put it in your home or put it on your patio like I had years ago with mine. So that's another way kind of around that issue. All right, let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. And we'll wrap things up here at Stenny's. And as you can see, if you're watching on the live stream, the crowd has thinned out considerably. But there's still a lot of loyal Brewers fans here that, are kind of they're loyal, but they're depressed right now. Brewers down 4-0, batting in just the bottom of the second of this one, as the Kansas City Royals have already plated 4 early runs in this contest. Stay right where you're at. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Being a Pella consultant means helping people build their dreams.
For Jenna, helping others find joy is so rewarding. It's why we love to do what we do.
I enjoy simplifying the process for the customer, taking the time to listen and finding the right solution.
Randy understands that everyone's situation is different, so we don't just slap together cookie cutter solutions.
Customers really appreciate just how prepared we are. All the samples, the videos, pictures.
Jake arrives at your free in-home consultation with pre-prepared materials to fully envision your dream Pella build.
We're with you from start to finish. You literally have a friend from beginning to end and beyond with your project.
Whether you're working with Ryan or another Pella consultant, we don't go away after the sale. We're ready with anything you may need before, during, and after installation. And right now at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, get 0% interest up to 72 months. Visit PellaWI.com today.
Certain restrictions apply in 3/31/2025.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
What a day it has been Down here at Stenny's in Second and National in Walker's Point. We've enjoyed being here as we do every year. This is tradition for us. And thanks to my friend Chuck Freimund for being here, Grant Bills for being here. We'll be back in studio tomorrow. Grant will be back in Madison. I'll be back in the studios as well. And a reminder that coming up on Friday, if you didn't get down here to see us today, we are going to be in Columbus, Wisconsin. Coming up on Friday, we're going to be at the brand new Marquardt RV. It's at the old Costco, from what I understand, there in Columbus. And we're going to be doing our broadcast inside the showroom. But in addition to that, they're going to have the brand new big unit cruiser, the 2025 version on site. We're really excited and looking forward to that as well. And thanks to our friends at Marquardt RV for not only being a big part of the program this season, but also for, supplying us with such an incredible, them and Thor Motor Coaches with such an incredible unit, and also helping us out with Big Unit Foundation and the amount of money that's already been raised from some of the charities and the auctions that we've given for fans to come along with us on certain trips to go to a Packers game. We're going to do something for the Brewers as well. So we're really looking forward to all the things that we can do charitable-wise and do it in conjunction with our friends from Marquardt RV. So if you get an opportunity, stop out to Marquardt this coming Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be there. And we're really, really looking forward to our first broadcast with our friends from Marquardt RV. It's going to be a great, great time and a lot of fun. And if you get a chance to stop by, get your name registered for one of two things, your choice. We're either going to give away a 65-inch flat panel TV or a pair of Loge-level Brewers tickets to an upcoming mutually agreed-upon game. And that is going to be a good time either way you look at it. Either you get to watch Brewers games all season long on a brand new TV, or you get to go see one up close and personal at American Family Field. So either way, you can't go wrong, and both things that we give away. Fantastic Friday coming up out at Marquardt RV. So we're looking forward to that. Before I get out of here, got to say hi to our buddy Dwayne. Got to say hi to our buddy Keith and everybody over on the live stream and in the cheap seats. We didn't pay a lot of attention to you today. I apologize, but we were busy down here. And great stories and great times with our buddy Chuck Freimund. And anytime we get a chance to kind of, just BS and wax nostalgic, it's always fantastic. So thanks to everybody for being a part of the program in that sense. Also got to say hi to our friend Ryan. Ryan says, hey, Bill, all other football aside, I saw Mike Tomlin spoke today and said that they are still talking to Aaron Rodgers, but that there is no deadline set. Mike Tomlin seemed to be frustrated by the question. What are your thoughts? We'll deal with more of that tomorrow. I know that tomorrow also Matt LaFleur is speaking. So we're hoping to catch Matt LaFleur's conversation tomorrow on the program as well. We'll follow up with what Brian Gutekunst had to say. I'll be honest, the whole thing with Aaron Rodgers at this point, kind of over it. Eventually he's going to end up signing. I don't think he's going to retire. I know that, it's come down between, the Steelers and the Vikings, and he's hoping for the Vikings to call. And, I don't know what the rest of the Steelers are feeling inside that locker room. Like they're just waiting for him to have the white papal smoke come out of the palace out there in Malibu. But, that's the path they have chosen. So, what else do you say? If you're a Steelers fan, you're probably a little bit upset about it. But if he chooses the Steelers and comes in and throws, a couple of touchdowns on the opening day and they get a win, and all is forgiven almost immediately, right? So, and besides, no football is going to be played between now and the NFL draft. And I'm sure that they're trying to figure out by the draft what's going to happen and see if, he decides to make a decision by then. But again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's kind of not our circus anymore, right? It's just merely a conversation piece in the NFL. So it is what it is. And as I had mentioned before, Brewers down currently 4-0 right now. 4-0 with a couple of outs in the top of the third. And hopefully the Brewers can kind of battle back, get the bats going, and play a few runs and get themselves a win. And today, in the grand scheme of things, is today a must-win? No. But in the you need some feel-good, specifically at home, you want to get the fans kind of back into it, so to speak, you need a win. You'd like to get that kind of a win. So we'll see what happens. But nevertheless, you'd like to get a W on the board and let everybody breathe a little bit easier. And again, if you can just struggle through and get to 500 by the time you start getting some of the starting pitchers back that we've discussed a little bit earlier in the program, that would be kind of the way to go in all reality when you start getting guys back. And they need it, with Savale going down. He was placed on the injured list today with that strained hamstring. So who knows how long it's going to take him to come back. Probably, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks before he's fully healthy back and ready to go. You've still got Aaron Ashby. Brandon Woodruff is going to be doing the simulated thing and then maybe go on a rehab assignment, which usually is a couple weeks after that. So you're probably about at least 4 weeks away from him coming back. You got Tobias Myers coming back from the strained oblique in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, after he gets his legs under him. You still got DL Hall, who they're waiting for with the strained lat, who went down in February. So they're hoping to get him back at some point here. Gasser had the Tommy John surgery this time, well, actually less than a year ago. And he's really not throwing a ton just yet, but he's another lefty they'd like to get back in the rotation. So you got quite a few guys. You got, 6, 7 pitchers that are down right now. The injuries have hindered this team. There's no doubt about it as to whether or not they can just sustain until these guys begin to come back. That's all you're asking for right now out of this Brewers pitching staff. So anyway, that's going to do it. And for everybody here at Stenny's that came by and everybody that I know they're not listening to us at this point, they're probably over there in the ballpark right now cheering on the Brewers, hoping they can get the Brewers bats going a little bit. But thanks to everybody for coming by and hanging out with us today. We had a great crowd and a great group of people. This is a tremendous staff. And if you get a chance to come to Walker's Point or even out into Lake Country, either place, either Stenny's, as they say, their motto is you should be here. Time for us